Good evening, and thanks for joining us here on Rogers TV in our studio in Barrie. And my partners this evening, it seems like it was just yesterday that we were covering the provincial election for 2022.
That's right.
Ron Potasiak, great to see you.
Great to see you, Irv.
And in studio, we're thrilled to be joined by Madison Fitzpatrick. Nice to see you, and glad you're here. There's going to be a lot of fun this evening.
I know.
And from Collingwood, joining us is Penny Skelton. And hi, Penny. If you can see us, that would be fantastic. But and you can see us. Great to have you in here. Let's get right into it.
Sure.
You know what? It's been an interesting past couple of months and an interesting run-up. Certainly, there are some hotspot municipalities that we're going to be looking at this evening. We're here in Barrie, and Barrie, for example, has one certainty, and that is that there will be a new mayor this evening.
Yes.
Mayor Jeff Lehman, who spent 12 years as mayor and 4 years prior to that on council, has decided not to run for re-election, and there are four candidates, or sorry, excuse me, not four candidates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candidates running in that race.
And you know, I just want to say, you know, Jeff was a great mayor. He was really well respected, and I get a sense that people generally really liked him, and I think had the riding been divided up a little differently, I think he got a lot of support from his Barrie people when he ran as an MPP here for the Liberal Party back in June.
And that race was so close.
Oh yeah,
well.
Went back and forth all night, and you know, it was sort of like the county would maybe lean a little bit conservative, and then of course but I thought he was a great mayor and did a great job.
Well, certainly
good spokesman for our city.
He is a man who made a name for himself. He was the chair of the Large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario. He certainly chaired a number of other boards and functions. I believe also the local utility. He was involved in the police board and the service there, and he certainly did build several relationships, not only locally in the community but beyond. And so there was a bet or a risk to be taken, if you will, and certainly he would have, I'm sure, enjoyed that.
Well, and I don't think Jeff is I don't think Jeff is down. Oh no.
No.
In fact, I think Jeff has, personally, I think he has a lot of qualities, and I think he's would be an excellent guy to have in the political realm. He understands it. He's been involved. He knows a lot of people. I mean, those are the kind of people that you want in politics, right?
Absolutely. I think we're going to have some time to discuss that a little bit more. But Penny, you know, you also have a new mayor being elected this evening in Collingwood. Okay, so. Yeah, sorry, Penny, if you can hear us, we will be back with you momentarily. Someone will yell in our ear to let us know to go back to you, but thank you for that. So yeah, we will want to come back to you and hear about what's happening in Collingwood for sure. But around the region, there are what we will cover tonight, I'm sure. Obviously, there are a number of people who are running in this, you know, as candidates for first time, and there are a few incumbents that were acclaimed that we'll be speaking with. Sandy McDonald being one of them as mayor, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. But maybe we can spend just a minute talking about what we believe are the key issues. What is going to get people engaged in this election? What do you think people are actually talking about? Is this a confidence sort of a vote? Is this a vote for change? What's on people's mind in the last 4 years?
You know what troubles me, and to answer your question, sorta.
Okay.
I'm really concerned about voter turnout. I was shocked. I remember when we sat here and during the provincial election, and somebody said, well, what was the turnout? What was the turnout? You know, we were trying to get that information to us here so that we could discuss it. And somebody said it's 10 points lower than last time. And we thought, well, that would make it about 37%. It can't be right. It was right.
Well, Arif, did you vote?
This time? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I voted every time that I've been elected,
Oh,
yes.
good,
Yes.
okay.
And it was interesting, though, because I might have been out at the door a little bit in the last little bit, knocking on some doors, just seeing what's going on. And I did come across a few people who said that they were refusing to vote.
Refusing.
Yeah, refusing
now, why
to
would
vote.
You refuse?
I have my own opinion.
But what was their rationale? No, I'm not voting because.
Technology in the local area here, technology was now introduced. I mean, ideally it was designed to make it from the comfort of your home. I think certainly the pandemic has catalyzed a movement towards technology, making it more accessible from the comfort of your home, either by phone or by online voting. But of course, certainly locally here in the municipality of Barrie, numerous centers were opened up with voter assistance. They're not going to vote for you, and no, you weren't going to be filling out a paper ballot.
Madison, how
but
did
they would
you
walk
vote?
you through it. Yeah.
No, I didn't mean how did you vote?
I didn't know we were getting that close today, but.
But no, did you use the online?
I did, and normally
used
this was the first time I ever did use online, because normally I do go in to wherever it is, whether it's a school, library, town hall, and I do vote in person. But this is the first time I even knew that you could vote online, and that was a possibility. And speaking of that whole topic, I remember watching the Oro-Medonte debates, and that was a huge topic, is voting online, voting over the phone, or voting in person. And a lot of it was, well, the elder, population of the townships, like, they don't know how to do that. And then some people in the audience were like, yes, we can. We can do that. That shouldn't be taken away from us. So it doesn't really matter, I think, how you vote. It's that you vote.
And I think it should be known
that you have a choice.
Yeah,
I mean, you can vote.
Options.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it should be known that staff said yes, we can do it, and council said no,
Exactly.
and that is important. So I mean, maybe that's a topic for discussion this evening. But I do think that I think a number of the municipalities, certainly again here in Barrie, I am a little bit biased in terms of what my knowledge is of the area, but they even had a voting bus out there, and they were driving the bus around to different areas.
Now, what's a voting bus?
It was a fully outfitted, full-size public transit bus that was set up with computers.
Go in and vote.
Yep. So if you went to Big Bay Point and Yonge, or if you went to one of the community centers on certain days, if you weren't comfortable dialing your own phone and reading what was in the letter, you could bring your letter with your PIN number, go to the bus, and a member of the staff would guide you through the process. They can't do it for you, they wouldn't do it for you, and et cetera, but they would make sure that you were successful in casting your ballot.
See, I always get this feeling, when you sit down and you get into a conversation with somebody and you start talking about issues, generally some people will come up with, I don't like what's happening here. And when you listen to somebody go on and talking about the city or what have you, or what are the things that are bothering them, I'm looking at them and saying, you know what, there's a 70% or a 63% probability that this guy didn't even vote, right? Didn't even have a say, and that's troubling. And anything that they can do, I think, to increase voter participation is important.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to know what you think. I want to know what you think. Well, maybe not you, but I want to know. I want to see what people are saying.
I know that a lot of people were talking about voting and do you vote or do you not vote? And it wasn't because, I'm just not interested. It's I don't know enough to hold my vote and feel good about who I voted for. And I feel like that was a big issue. I didn't watch any debates, I didn't attend any meetings, I don't really care maybe, but a lot of it was knowledge.
So I think one of the things that we can talk about this evening is certainly voter engagement and how that has translated into voter turnout. But somebody who didn't need to rely on receiving any votes this term is the mayor of Essa, and that's Sandy McDonald, and she is acclaimed, and we have a clip from her, so we'll just go to there right now, and we'll talk about it right after.
Some of the priorities that we'll see in our next term will be the budget, the 2023 budget. And in that budget, we will be looking to be putting money aside for some of the master plans that we have undertaken. And if we just do the master plans and nothing else, we'll have a book on the shelf, but we want to have a working document. Some of the other things are housing. Housing is very, very important. Whether it be affordable, accessible, or seniors, we'll work with the different levels of government that will be able to help us with that. Other things that we will look for is strategic planning. We just don't want to be planning today or tomorrow. We need to plan out, like whether it be 5 years or 10 years, that is being fiscally responsible. We'll continue to work very diligently to have affordable taxes. And I think that the main key things for our term is that we work as a team and have all different ideas, but we work as a team and we're respectful to one another, and that we continue to forge good working relationships with our staff. One of the things that definitely that is a need for Essa Township is schooling. So we have in the works a purchase of land from the school board from us, and we want to make sure that that we get a school there, not just land that's bought, but actually a school. And we look forward to working with the elected school trustee. I love being on council. I have the same passion I had when I joined in 2003 that I have today, and I look forward to working with and working for the residents of Essa Township.
So obviously, congratulations to Mayor Sandy McDonald on her success there. But we'll go back. Actually, we've re-established a connection with Penny Skelton, who's in Collingwood. And Penny, you've obviously got some information to share with us on the election and who's running and who's been acclaimed, et cetera, going on in Collingwood.
Well, it's kind of interesting here in Collingwood because we have 2 current councillors running for the mayor's position, because our current mayor no longer is in the running. He is now our MPP, and he left us in June, and we had Keith Hull, who decided not to run. So we potentially have two members of council that may or may not return. And then we have what I call a rebounder. We have Norm Sandberg, who was a councillor previously, who has now come back to join us.
And thank you, Penny, and it's glad to have you back. I'm glad you're able to join us here and give us some insight on what's going on. Actually, Penny, we might as well stay with you a little bit. Going on outside of the Collingwood region in the neighboring jurisdictions, any thoughts going on there? Wasaga Beach, Clearview, Thornbury, et cetera.
Okay, so Wasaga Beach is an interesting race. It does have an incumbent in Nina Bifulci. It's been quite a contentious race. And then we've got the town of Blue Mountains. Alara Soever, who was the mayor, decided not to run at all. So they have actually 4 people running. So it's quite interesting. And then when we go down to Clearview, it's our one community area that has an acclaimed mayor, which is Doug Measures.
So I'll ask you this, Penny, though, if I might. What's the word on the street, so to speak? Are people, you've got the mayor of Wasaga Beach running for re-election. Is there going to be a vote for change? Is there a vote consistency? Some of the regions there have had some interesting discussions, if you will, lively discussions going on between the elected officials as well as staff, as well as the residents. Can you give us a bit of a summary on that?
Wasaga Beach is an interesting one because it's been a race that's been run on social media. There's been a lot of contention with the current council, the current mayor, and we've got some very vocal people, and we have one rebounder mayor. So Nina, when she was elected mayor, defeated Brian Smith. And Brian is also on the ballot. So we have Brian, we have Giorgio Mammoliti, we have Nina, and we have one more whose name escapes me at the moment. Hold on for a second.
There's another human here joining us this evening,
and
Leslie
Farkas, or Les Farkas. So we've got 4 very different candidates who are running, and they're all very different. And there are camps in the beach. There are sign wars in the beach. I don't have a clue who's going to be elected.
But it's interesting, Giorgio Mammoliti is no stranger to politics.
Giorgio Mammoliti is an interesting person. He's retired from Toronto. He started in politics in North York. Then he was on the city council. Now he's retired to Wasaga Beach, bought a home. He'd always come up, cottaged up here. And now he's up here full time, and he wants to bring his, I'm going to say his big city ways. He's talking about tax breaks for the average citizen, which will be interesting with all the big projects they have going on in the beach.
I guess we'll find out how that resonates a little bit later this evening, but is there anything that you're hearing?
At the moment, Nina Bifolci feels she has a very strong core of people. Giorgio feels he's very strong. Brian Smith feels he's very strong. And Leslie Farkas is our interesting new person. He ran for council last time, wasn't elected, but has spent the 4 years learning more about the municipality, and he wants to bring a fresh new approach to Wasaga Beach. So it'll be interesting to see who the voters choose. But here in Collingwood, we will have a delay in our results. There was a glitch in the online voting system, so they've extended the online voting to 9 p.m.
Yeah, imagine that, a glitch in the online voting system. Never happened.
A glitch. And I hate to say it, there was a glitch in the online voting system last time in Collingwood as well. Our results were late.
But just a question, though. I mean, we hear a lot about, when you think of the town of Wasaga Beach, you hear a lot about sort of that nucleus, that recreation area, that tourist area, the beautiful beach, and obviously there's the provincial portion of the beach as well as the town portion of the beach. There's the redevelopment of the beach.
The famous beach number 1.
Exactly. And how's that played out in terms of this election?
All of the candidates, starting with the incumbent with Nina Bifolci, she has a very interesting approach to working with developers. Mamalidi has a different type of approach. Didn't hear a lot about it from Brian Smith, and Leslie Farkas would just like to see it developed. So it will be interesting to see, as they're elected, where they go and what happens.
Penny,
it's going to be interesting.
Penny, you mentioned that this whole race so far in Wasaga Beach has been, on social media.
Yes.
Can you describe to us a little bit of what that means? Because that's maybe something that's never really happened before.
It's been absolutely fascinating to watch because what's the best way to say it? During this term, the current term of council, there was a rumor I do say rumor started, that they would be selling their electrical supply company. And that got a lot of citizens up in arms. That started a citizens group, and the citizens group was born on Facebook. And for about the last 3.5 years, they have been extremely active. And it's interesting to see the actual town of Wasaga Beach and their IT department and the mayor actually developed something called the Truth Corner. So as can happen with rumors, there are a lot of people out there that say things and it feeds. It's like the old-fashioned game of telephone you play when you're a kid.
Absolutely. I'm gonna make a bold statement, though. I think that
back and forth.
Of course, but I do think that as much as you get some engagement going on social media, and you may get some traction, you may get the same 20 or 100, or even you may get the same 1,000 people sort of going in and engaging in.
I think in this one we're talking in the thousands.
Yeah, yeah. But it'll be interesting, though, to see how running a campaign on social media differs from actually door knocking. And I think in a number of the jurisdictions, there have been candidates who have tried one or the other approach, and I think it'll be interesting for them to see how that fared. But we do have another acclaimed candidate, I believe, to take a look at, and that is a message, I believe, that was previously recorded from Doug Measures in Clearview, and acclaimed.
He's a Rogers guy.
Certainly, the next term of council will have some very significant priorities. The first one will be that we want to gather council members together to take a look at our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is something that's now in its 3rd iteration. We are going to be gathering together as, first of all, as council, then we'll bring in our senior staff, then we're going to be engaging the public and asking to review our strategic plan and look at some of the directions that this community is moving towards. It's been an evolving, growing community, certainly with strong agricultural roots, but we have great urban centers right here in Stayner and in Creemore, Nottawa, New Lowell. These centers are all growing as well. one of my personal objectives as being the mayor, I'm very proud of our community. I'm very proud of the volunteers in our community, the various service organizations and groups, and whether they be the Kinsman Club or the Kiwanis Club or the Lions Club or the Masonic Temple. Those organizations are really important. But the other volunteer organizations that I really want to see us support as a township, like the minor hockeys and the agricultural societies and the horticultural society, we want to make sure that those organizations continue to thrive and bring a lot of information to the community and be part of the community, and they will make the spirit of our community much stronger by having a strong volunteer base.
Great to see Doug acclaimed. I know Doug very well. He's a great guy. He's a hardworking guy, and he's obviously the township really appreciates his efforts.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I was curious about, though, is obviously you've got some of the areas, the municipalities. Well, there's the county, and then there are some separated cities. There's Aurelia, there's Barrie, and then there are all of the towns and hamlets and areas that fall in under the county, and we all face similar challenges as Ontarians, whether that's the affordability of housing, whether that's prices of utilities, whether that's prices of groceries, gas, etc. The pandemic certainly has impacted all of us, not necessarily the same, some differently. We've seen migration coming up from the GTA. Go ahead, yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. Sorry to interrupt, to stop you there, but that the pandemic has really impacted a lot of these communities north of the GTA, just from the standpoint of housing.
Just to update everybody, Clearview has also extended their voting to 9 p.m.
Somebody who said, I can't believe that somebody just gave me $900,000 for this dump that I live in Victoria Harbour. I'm selling it and moving to Nova Scotia. But it's really had a huge impact on all the municipalities.
Absolutely.
And you wonder, a lot of these folks came from other places, so you wonder how that, if at all, will impact or affect maybe the outcome of
thoughts, Madison?
Well, I mean, just affordable housing in general is such a topic for all municipalities right now. For example, I believe in Penetanguishene, there was a hospital there, and it's no longer a hospital. And the council basically was trying to decide what to do with it. And that was the topic that was brought up during the debates is, as a councillor, what are your thoughts on what to do with this building that has been abandoned? And a lot of councillors, or as I should say, candidates, said we should make it into affordable housing units for our
So this is
community.
Can I ask? So affordable housing. So describe an affordable housing. Like,
Not
so you know what? Some people,
It's a great question. That's why
I've talked to some people that think a tent is affordable housing. I've talked to others that think, wow, you should have at least 2 bedrooms. Like, so what is?
Well, I mean, they
what
did
is
it. They did it in
affordable?
Innisfil,
Yep.
right, down by the lake, and they put in a few condo buildings, and that is affordable housing. And I know a lot of people that do live there, and said I wasn't able to get rent or purchase this property in Barrie because they don't. At that time, they didn't have things like that.
Yeah.
If you don't
You know?
mind, and first of all, I want
so
to
you guys
apologize,
realize
Ron, because
we're
I'm not
asking.
laughing at the question. I am
I don't mind
absolutely.
if you do.
No, I'm
That's
baffled
okay.
by not by the question. I am baffled by how in 2022, with all of the data that we have available to us, and watching the trend of the last. Oh God, I mean, keep going. I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, year over year over year. This is the first year, maybe in 10 years, that we're seeing a blip. And it's not just a blip, we're seeing maybe 15%, and they're projecting that we might see 30% decline in home prices. But 30% compared to what? When the average home in Barrie 3 years ago was $450,000, and about 6 months ago, the average home in Barrie topped, it was, I don't know if it was 775, 800,000 plus. Someone's going to yell at me tomorrow because I'm supposed to know this stuff. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at that kind of appreciation, sorry for the person who's struggling to attain affordable housing or put a roof over their family's head when the average housing price was $450. it's not even a conversation anymore when the textbook definition of affordable housing is 5 to 10% below market value. Like, we're not even having, it's not an intelligent conversation at that point.
So even though housing prices have come down, interest rates have gone up, so the actual cost of is not got any more affordable.
Now the average person is just struggling to carry a smaller house at a higher rate.
Yeah.
Or the same house at a higher rate
But
because they
even,
went through
even
it.
purchasing a house, what about renting?
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm a young adult trying to rent or buy anywhere in Simcoe County is extremely hard, especially if I wanted to do it just by myself. And
So
you know,
let
a lot
me-
of people are just wondering how is it possible?
Let me throw a little analogy out here for you to take in. I hope this works. But you want to go to your favorite store and you're going to provide them with a product or a service, let's say, and every time you come there, they tell you, no, you can't park there. You need to park around over here. Oh, okay, well, I can deal with that. Oh, no, you can't come. And then not only that, we want a fee for handling your, do you know, you keep doing things, you keep throwing layers and layers of regulation and cost and stuff. And guess what? The people who build homes decide, you know what? We can't build homes. We can't build affordable houses because the cost of getting things going, and Ontario, and I think Canada, I could be wrong, but for sure it's Canada, of all the G7 countries, has the longest time from project implementation to project completion in the world. We rank #1 as the worst. So when a developer wants to get his project going and he knows it's going to take 10 years and he's got a lot of, and I'm not, you know, developers have done really well and I'm not trying to support them, but at the end of the day, the people who are talking about affordable housing are the folks that made it unaffordable over time. So building has affordable housing, or what do you call it, the places to grow legislation here in Simcoe County. Well, most guys will quietly, we're such nice people here in Canada. We're not like our American neighbors and duke it out. But a lot of guys will tell you privately, people want to build here, they won't let them.
Well, I mean,
They
Eric,
won't
you're
let them
the expert here.
because they don't have the zoning.
Yeah. What's the definition of affordable housing?
Well,
Let's be real.
you know what? Nobody knows anymore, right? It's got to be within, affordability is within a percentage of household income. And the fact of the matter is that housing prices have far outpaced, and so has inflation, far outpaced the average Canadian's increase in and their ability to bring in extra income home, whether that's maintaining their existing primary source of income, whether that's adding a second or a third supplemental income, whether it's through a spouse or with partner or weekend or evening shift, whether it's through the gig economy or a side hustle, whatever we're referring to it now. Here's something,
can't
Ron,
hear
to
her.
your point, Ron. I wanted to just bring this up, something to take into consideration. Again, I'm going to go back to the pandemic, and I'm going to go back to the fact that, you know, and sorry if I sound like a broken record to anybody who's heard me say this before, but when you have, in addition to normal migration, when you have people leaving the major metropolitan areas to move to the outskirts because now they're working remotely, they're able to work from home, they don't have to commute in, they don't have to live in proximity, walking distance to their employment, that's what created the pressure, the upward pressure on an already restricted supply of housing. We're talking about something that's going on at every kitchen table, if there is one, you know, if that's the conversation that's going on at home, right? So now you've got that happening, and it's gone out of control, and finally somebody at the switch at the Bank of Canada wakes up and decides, we've been 10 years too long on these artificially low interest rates, we're going to start jacking these rates up because inflation's 7.7 or 8%. When we start artificially tanking housing values, anybody who signed on the dotted line for a new build, for a contract for a house or in a condo that hasn't been built yet, and the value comes plummeting down 5%, 10%, 20%, 30% down, and they're on the hook for that house or that condo, they've got to still get financing for it.
Or the reverse.
Or the reverse.
So it takes so long to build a project that you get it sold out. A couple of those projects went down in Barrie because by the time you get around to everything, the cost of stuff has gone up so long.
And that's just it.
Same
So not
thing, the
only is the
reverse.
value of the house
Yeah.
gone down, but the builder is facing an increase in prices because of the artificially inflated cost of goods in terms of building materials. And yes, it is artificial. That's my
Let's
opinion.
go.
Someone can
Let's
yell at
ask
me later.
Penny. Let's ask Penny up in Collingwood. Are you having
I'd
the
like
same
to go
sort of
back to a question you
experience
gentlemen
there with
asked each
housing
other.
prices?
Please do.
What is affordable housing? So Collingwood went through, and so did the town of Blue Mountains, an exercise with an affordable housing task force. And the universally accepted definition, it's interesting. It's geared to income, and your housing should be no more than 30% of your salary. So that
Exactly.
is the definition of affordable housing that's accepted throughout the world.
Exactly.
So are the rents, are the mortgages geared to the housing? So it's interesting to see where we're at because our housing prices are high and our rental rates are very high. So we've got a very interesting situation here where we have multi-million-dollar homes and we have no starter homes.
So and that is, so here's the interesting thing. When you live in a democratic society that has social tendencies, but certainly has capitalistic tendencies, and when we have the landowners who are in control of their bottom line and their parcel and deciding, there is freedom to build what you want. You're absolutely right, Penny. The big challenge is how does government incentivize the developers to build for those who need it, as opposed to those who can afford it? And that is the big question that we're facing. We're facing that both in ownership opportunities as well as you mentioned, Madison, in terms of rental opportunities. And if I'm not mistaken, again, someone will yell at me tomorrow, the average price of a 2 or a 3 bedroom home, whether it's a condo, an apartment, or a freehold home, has gone from somewhere, let's call it $1,860 and $1,800 per month just a few years ago, call it 4 years ago, to what are you looking at when you're searching now? $2,500, $2,800, $2,900, and there's in fact bidding wars.
Oh, and it's almost disgusting because if you think about what apartments cost, like a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment would cost in Toronto, it's almost the same here in Barrie and in surrounding municipalities in Simcoe County. It's from, at least for my generation, it's unbearable to think about owning a home at this point because there's so much to go through and just to think about interest rates and like you saying, like there's so much that can change in such little time.
So Penny, Ron, Madison, it's an interesting thing. I think we've hijacked Rogers here and we've switched the coverage from an election to talking about, what people are talking about at home behind closed doors. But I think that it is relevant as we wait for the numbers to come in. It's relevant. I mean, this is what people, I think, are concerned about.
Mm-hmm. And I think amongst us,
so.
it was
Very
an
much so.
election issue in
Especially
every
in the
one of the
pandemic, really.
one of the areas.
Oh, I'm
Sorry, go ahead, Penny, one more time. We are having a little bit, but I do hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying that I think that in every area of Simcoe and Muskoka, it was an election issue. And every candidate has to start thinking about how they're going to deal with it.
So let's see what kind of leverage we have here on Rogers tonight, because I've got some ideas that perhaps we can encourage our successful candidates, our candidates elect, if you will, to start using their voice as municipal mayors and members of council to really bring that message under a unified voice to Queen's Park as well as Ottawa. Because as you mentioned, Penny, quite rightly, I mean, and this is my opinion, this is not a local issue. This is a provincial issue, it is a national issue, and there isn't a municipality on its own. And if you watch the housing minister from not so long ago in Ottawa said, well, these types of topics need to be, these conversations need to be had at the municipal level, and I think that's nonsense. I mean, I think we need to get a little bit more, unified in that messaging that we need to have some measures in place.
I'm going to ask you another question. If you were going to have a party at your house, assuming you had one, at your house and invited 50 people to stay over for the weekend, would you do it?
50 people?
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
Well, why?
I mean, unless they
'Cause you
brought
got
it,
no
unless
place
they brought
for
a
them to
tent and
stay.
could be outside, but
You have no place for them to stay.
No.
But we as a country can't house our own people, yet we're asking hundreds of thousands of people want to migrate to Canada, and we're welcoming them here. And they
Absolutely.
poor folks come here, and there's really no place for them to live.
So I have a question, and I'm going to change it up just a little bit, but what does being acclaimed actually mean? Is that an absolute vote of confidence? Is that a level of confidence by the electorate and they're satisfied with their mayor and or candidate, councillor who's the incumbent? Or is it more of a factor that the community's disengaged and
there's nobody running against
and
you?
there's nobody running against them? What are your thoughts real quick? Because then I do want to go to one more.
I think it's great job, love you. Yeah, I'm on the positive side of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
I would agree. Great job, well done. But also, some areas had trouble getting enthusiasm for people to run because the job has changed so much and the commitment is greater.
I'd like to talk about that in a minute while we maybe sort of, what's the word, steep on that just a little bit. Let's go to a recorded video that we have from somebody else who managed to become acclaimed, and it's not just him, it's him and his entire council, and that is from Tay Township, and that's Mayor Ted Walker, who's been acclaimed, and we'll see on the other side of that video.
I think one of our most important projects is going to be the upgrade to our sewage treatment plant in Victoria Harbour. It's at capacity. With respect to other projects, we're committed to improving customer service. We've gone a long way in that regard, and we're looking to enhance that in the future and also continue our accelerated roads improvement plan. One of the things that are near and dear to my heart is the continued improvement in customer service and communications with our residents. We've been working hard on videos to show residents different aspects of our operations that they wouldn't otherwise get the opportunity to see. Also, we're doing a lot of social media posts now to our residents, and we have a My Tay that people can go on to. It gives them information about future meetings, agendas, and past council meeting minutes. Well, it's been a big honor, actually. It's been a very easy transition for me. I was a CAO before, so I had some ideas of the role of mayor, but to actually do it has been quite an experience. We've had a great council, so that's made it easier. And also our staff. We have an excellent staff, so I'm looking forward to just continuing the improvements that we've been able to make so far.
You're surrounded. I'm the only Brian Peter.
And so we have some late breaking news from Bradford, West Grill, and Barrie, and there is a new mayor and there is a new deputy mayor in Bradford, Ron. And the successful candidate, as you can see on the screen, is Mauro Di Giovanni. And I hope I said that with some level of
great.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, huh? And the deputy mayor who's been elected is Brent Fellman, and congratulations to them. And am I correct that was former Mayor Keffer? Am I correct? That is correct. Former mayor is Rob Keffer. I had the pleasure of sitting beside him at county council a few years back, and a very, very fantastic gentleman who decided not to run again for re-election. But so Mauro Di Giovanni, I'll get it in a minute, but he is the new mayor of Bradford. So congratulations to him, and good work to the people of Bradford who cast those ballots. So again, we were talking just before we went to before we went to that last video for Mayor Ted Walker, and talking about whether or not it's voter apathy or whether it's voter enthusiasm, voter satisfaction. What happens when you are acclaimed? And I will agree with you, and not just in terms of the election itself, but you know, there's a sense that says, you know, if you don't hear from your electorate, you know, yelling at you on the phone or sending you emails, et cetera, if you don't hear from them during the term, it's actually not necessarily that they're disengaged or unengaged, I don't know which one that is, but it's that they're actually, you're doing fine. Satisfactory or above, and you will hear from people, if they are dissatisfied. Thoughts on that?
I don't. You know what? You're the best guy to.
Thanks. Say that again.
You were on.
Just
you
aim
were
at
on
that
the
camera
council.
over there.
Okay,
Say
he
that
was
one more
the best guy. You were on council. What was it like on council? The only calls you get from people are not, "Hey, Arf, you're doing a great job, buddy." They're like, "Hey, they didn't pick up my garbage again." Hey, like you.
Yeah, well,
I remember. I got to tell this story. Mayor Laking, Janice Laking,
absolutely
great lady, great mayor. Just everybody loved her. But I remember doing a phone-in program with her, and somebody called in and complained about a pothole in front of their house, and he was sick and tired and fed up and was giving her a hard time. So you know what she said to him? I'll always remember this. She said to him, "Where do you live? No, don't, just where do you live?" And so he told her, and she said, "Yeah, you know what? I know that pothole. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to go down to the yard, and I'm going to get the boys to load up some blacktop in the back of my trunk. And if you promise to help me, we'll fix that pothole." Like, I thought that was brilliant. But you get a lot of calls from people who are not happy about this.
I will tell you that happened again recently in Barrie, and it wasn't with me. I will not take that credit, although, you know, why not?
Yeah.
But there was actually, one of the candidates was door knocking, and I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to be unfair. Maybe I should be, though. But one of the candidates was door knocking, and he spoke to one of the residents. He said, "I'm not interested in voting. You people are useless. You're never going to do anything." And the person was like, "Hey, I'm the new guy here. What's going on? I'd love to hear." But he said, "Well, you see that pothole at the end of the road? I've been complaining about that for 2 years, and I had the existing council, the current councilor, come around, told me he was going to do something about it, told me whatever I wanted to hear, and we're a year or two later." And so the person took the note and went away. And this candidate had the wisdom, foresight to actually look up the phone number to the roads department in the city of Barrie, made a call, gave the address. 20 minutes later, there was a pickup truck that came by with a single person crew. They filled the pothole and it was done. And he came back and he spoke to that person, and the person said, "You know, you've got my vote. Congratulations, good for you." So I think it's a great story. It's possible. Yeah. Let's go back though and talk about Bradford, and we've got some numbers coming in on the councillor. So Ward 1, successful candidate, Al Bonura. And it's a bit of a spread there, actually. That's a healthy margin there, 640
by the way,
votes.
Kudos to Bradford for getting their numbers up like that.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
Well, considering some of the others are postponing until 9 o'clock with server issues. Yeah, so congratulations, though, obviously.
Technology, it's great until it doesn't work, am I right?
Absolutely. In Ward 2, a much smaller race, but a very decisive race there. And, well, we're moving a little bit fast there, but Ward 4, you can see Iftikhar Ahmad. 576, a tighter race, only what, 73 votes separating in Ward 4, and but congratulations to Iftikhar. Munawar Choudhary, I hope I said that well. Apologies, Munawar. Congratulations, 503 to 389. And actually unseated the incumbent and a veteran. In Ward 6, Marc Comtois, 676 to 577. He was the incumbent, as you can see on the screen, and he's kept his seat. Peter Dykey Jr. Is the incumbent, but apparently had a very tight race. Yeah, not a huge margin there. So obviously that's one to watch in 4 years from now. Mayor, as we saw that. Once again, the mayor, again, some good participation there. There were clearly 2 front runners in that race, and something tells me that it was not necessarily the level of popularity in this case. That's too tight for my liking, in the sense of the fact that I think that what happened here for Mauro Di Giovanni is he had a great ground game, and he had a great election day, and these past 10 days he probably had a really good crew of people reminding his supporters to go and vote.
So is that what it takes? Is that how you got elected? You ran for council?
I'm not going to tell you the secret 11 herbs and spices in the Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe, but I will tell you that, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You can have great literature, you can be charismatic, you can be well-informed, you can be well-educated, But if you don't have a great ground game, and this is what we were talking about before about social media versus door knocking, and I'm not going to dispute what happened. Penny, you did say yourself that it was a very engaged social media group. But when you're talking those kind of numbers there, it all comes down to it. Listen, if we can agree that, as you said, the voter turnout's gone down 10% from one term to the next. I think it was in the 40s and it was down into the 30s the last time, and we'll see what the number is now. I heard here locally it was down at like 15% until not so long ago. Very poor voter turnout.
What, in the civic, the Barrie
municipally here, and I don't know what it is right now, and then I don't want to speak out of turn, but the reality is when these are the numbers that you're looking at, it's going to come down to who has the better ground game. In a municipality, so I'm just going to look at Barrie. Barrie's got 150,000 people, about 105,000 eligible voters. If we see a voter turnout of 30,000 people and it's split between 5 different candidates or 7 different candidates, but maybe 2 or 3 different front runners, 1,000 points or 1,000 votes,
It matters.
makes the difference, right? 10 votes
Absolutely.
makes the difference. And when we're talking about Mayor Lehman, who ran provincially against the incumbent Attorney General Doug Downey, it was what was it?
It's only a few hundred votes.
It was just.
It was so
minuscule.
close. Yeah.
Minuscule,
So close.
absolutely. So, Penny, here you are. Go ahead with your thoughts.
It's fascinating to see how close some races can be. I mean, up here, town of Blue Mountains, it's such a large area, yet by last weekend they only had 10% of their voting had been done. In Collingwood it was creeping around 30%. Hopefully we'll be up to where we normally are, between 50 and 60%. But it's interesting to see the number of candidates that do get out, do the door knocking, and they are the ones who really concentrate folks on making sure they vote.
Well, and here's an interesting thing, Penny, and I couldn't agree with you more. When the different municipalities are employing different techniques for trying to get people out, when there are certain people who are firmly believe that it's a matter of civic pride. I want to go stand in line. I don't know whoever said that, but I want to go stand in line, whether it's in the rain or the sun or the snow. I want to go stand in line. I want to cast my ballot. I want that tiny pencil on that little piece of paper, and I want to put the X, etc. Now, on the other side, you've got all the IT professionals saying we can be more accurate with digital voting. We don't have to wait for the count. We're not going to have someone who's rubbed it out, and we're going to decide whether or not it's a spoiled ballot, etc. Theoretically, the numbers come in faster. When it should be within minutes they're coming in. However, the fact is that I think we're seeing voter turnout continues to be low.
It's interesting here. I know the clerk in Collingwood, when she made the initial push for internet voting, there really was the concentration on the young vote. Kids will vote on their phones, all these sorts of things, and then they end up setting up a full station so people who like to go and vote can go in through the advanced polls for 2 weeks prior to.
Absolutely, and not in our area of Simcoe County, but obviously we've got the former leader of the New Democratic Party for Ontario, Andy Horvath. She's running for mayor in Hamilton. I don't know if we'll get those results here. We'll see what we can do about that. But if I'm not mistaken, there's been a push about getting the voter age down to 16. Am I correct?
It certainly has been around here, and it's been spearheaded by the high school.
So, there we go. We've got a more engaged, I don't want to say youth, that's not fair. If they're old enough to vote, they're adults as far as I'm concerned, young adults who are engaged, they're studying, they're studying politics, they're studying local and federal and international politics, they're studying, social studies, sociology in general, they're having conversations around equity, diversity, and inclusion. They're having conversations around the difference between equality and equity. Things that some of us who are in the 50-plus club may not be as, I won't speak for you, may not be as familiar with. We certainly didn't have those conversations when I was in school. So I think it is important. And every door you knock on, you do hear about how good it is to see the youth, how good it is to see the young candidate out there. Well, how are you going to get the young candidate out there if you're not letting them vote? So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm pro 16-year-old voting or not. I'll leave that and I'll keep that one to myself. but it's an interesting conversation to be had for sure.
Well, I think engaging everybody in, in the process is important. I mean, there are a lot of issues that youth are concerned about, people in different age groups, and
That's where the green movement has come forward.
Different sort of priorities and what have.
I don't know if you can hear Penny. She said that's the way the green movement has come forward.
Oh, no, I can't hear Penny, unfortunately.
Well, you're absolutely right, Penny. I mean,
I'll jump
climate change has been a huge topic for youth in the past, 10 years, and the Green Party has brought that forward a lot. But even in the municipalities, right? What's the plan for conserving the green space and the forests and parks? And what's the plan for municipalities here? Because it starts local. It starts local, and whatever the council decides impacts, the municipality, the province in a whole. So yeah, that has been a huge factor in youth voting.
So certainly across Ontario, the conversation continues to be around housing affordability. We've had people, Ron, as you made reference to, there are migrants immigrating to Canada, and they come to where they believe the work will going to be. We've also had people migrate out of Ontario to the East Coast as well as farther west because of housing affordability and the ability to work remotely.
But Arif, I also wanted to mention to you, it's not even about having people come to Canada, having people come to the province. It's about the people that are here right now. We were talking about homelessness earlier. Affordable housing for our own people here.
Oh, absolutely, and
Right?
and I think that is my point. So one of the things that comes in is there's a discussion being had at Queen's Park about should municipalities be allowed, remain allowed to make their own decisions regarding planning and zoning, because we see year after year challenges with a difference of opinion between the development community as well as the existing neighbors, and whether everybody, I'm going to speak in broad generalizations right now, but everybody agrees that we need more affordable housing. Everybody agrees that one of the ways to get that is through density, so building higher and wider and multi-unit residential. But of course, then the other side comes down to, and I'm not saying it's everybody, but it takes one person to file an appeal or a complaint and to block that development from going forward. So Ron, you talked about the potential for 10 years for a development, but theoretically, what could be passed at a council today, there's a window for appeal, and that appeal could force a 1 or a 2 year delay potentially, certainly if there was COVID. So now the Premier, I believe, is having conversations or discussion around, are we going to actually pull that back to the provincial level and sort of pass judgment from down in Queen's Park about what goes on in the different municipalities?
So in our community, on that point, in our community, we've just had one of our neighbors on our street, and these are some of the things that I find kind of humorous, actually. We'll say it, humorous. So if you go to you want to build a deck in your backyard, you have to conform to some very strict regulations, and if the deck is too big for the yard, that kind of thing. But our neighbor in a very small lot put a house in the backyard. There's a home there now, probably 800 square feet, obviously going to be used as a rental property, but that kind of, and it looks really cool. Like, it looks good. Like, they did a nice job building it. Obviously, they got permission to build a house in their backyard. And I find that kind of, we have to look at all of the rules and regulations to determine how you can put together things like that will provide homes, affordable homes.
Ron, 10 years ago, that kind of a conversation was unheard of here locally. There was a former councillor named Rose Ramita. You may remember her name.
Remember her very well.
She brought to council the idea of doing tiny homes out of containers, shipping container homes.
I love those.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're so
and guess what?
cute.
The unanimous decision, not necessarily by council, I'm not going to put this on staff, but let's put it this way, the recommendation was against them. It was unheard of. We didn't know enough about it. Would they be suitable? Would they conform? How would they fit within planning? It's not within planning, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? Change the planning. Because 10 years later, guess what we have on Essa Road? We've got container homes that are stacked several high, about 6 or 8 of them on Essa Road. You go down to Toronto, they're talking about laneway housing and container homes down there. It's going to become more and more popular, more and more prevalent. And I believe that as the issue of housing affordability remains at a critical level, I think that the rules will have to change. And I think society is going to force, I think that those who are in a position of authority, legislative authority, et cetera, are going to recognize that they're going to have to budge. And what does that mean? There are going to be people who decide, I don't want to live here anymore, I don't recognize my own backyard, and they're going to move. And so be it.
I have another point. We're talking about affordable housing, we're talking about housing in general. A lot of a topic that has come up a lot in other municipalities is Airbnbs, short-term rentals, and housing as well. Short-term rental for housing. That is a huge topic, and a lot of people in a lot of municipalities are speaking their minds to councillors about this needs to stop, this needs to change. But then a lot of other councillors are for it because it brings tourism, it brings people to the areas, and I mean, that's something to talk about. That we didn't have 10 years ago, you know? So.
And I will tell you though, it's interesting because
that's one of the issues in Oro.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the people coming and having big parties and sort of disrupting neighborhood.
I'm going to speak to the other side of it just for a minute, and this comes to me not by my own incredible intellect, but it comes to me from those who are working in the industry, have shared their thoughts, and you know, certainly realtors are having conversations and legislators are having conversations. And here's the thing: when you look at short-term housing and Airbnb, yes, that is people who are buying a second home or maybe converting their second home into a rental, whether it's because they're snowbirds and they're moving south and they want to make their home available or whatever. But there's another side, because what has Airbnb done? It has actually put downward pressure on the hotel supply, or the demand, excuse me, for hotels. So if you didn't have Airbnbs, and people who are looking at this alternative form of, whether it's tourism, whether it's recreational tourism, sports tourism, or whether it's corporate tourism, people who were tapping into the supply of an alternative place to stay from a hotel. If you didn't have Airbnbs and the like of short-term stay, then what would that be doing to the hotel supply? That would be putting increased demand to build more hotels. So what you'd actually look for is you would see pressure for rezoning away from residential, away from condo residential, into commercial accommodation in the form of a hotel. And again, so listen, I'm going to hold this thought because Madison's come back with some breaking news and numbers. Go ahead.
I know, breaking news. So viewers, as you know, we do have the numbers across the screen, but we don't have them right now on the screen for you, so I'm going to read them for you. So this is for Severn. Mayor. We have a mayor. The winner, 3,740 votes, is Mike Burkett. So he is your new mayor, incumbent. And for your deputy mayor, 2,372, Judith Cox is your new mayor, or deputy mayor, rather. And we have numbers for Ward 2, and it is Dan Jensen, 301. So we'll have the updated numbers for you coming across the screen when we are able to put them into our system. But as this election goes on, we will try to update you live as fast as we can.
Awesome, fantastic news, and I look forward to more updates. I mean, apparently that's why we're here. Nicely done, thank you. Great.
I ran in.
Absolutely. Yeah, you at home, you didn't get to see her. And by the way, thanks for having us in your living room or on your iPad or on your mobile device this evening. We're glad to be here. It's a fun conversation. And let's keep talking about the issues. Let's keep talking about the issues that people are talking about. Ron or Madison, discussion, thoughts coming from you on what else are you hearing? We've talked a lot about housing, and we probably could talk about that for another couple of years if we were given the time to do so.
So all I want to say about housing is, for the folks that are being elected here tonight, it's an enormously challenging yet vital important subject that something has to be done with respect to providing suitable housing for everybody.
Let me put you on the spot.
Including seniors and
If you had
kids
carte
getting
blanche,
going.
if you had carte blanche and you had the support of a council that said, Ron, we believe in whatever you're a critical thinker and you're a thoughtful individual, what would you do differently? And would you do it, would you be able to do it as a municipal politician, or would you need the help of another level of government?
So, you need help from a whole lot of people, but you know what? At the end of the day, when things cost too much, you look for ways to reduce the cost. And one of the areas where there's a lot of, if you want to build some affordable housing, there's a lot of costs associated with getting that project approved, approvals. And I'm not saying you skip them, but maybe somebody can kind of cut some of those fees down if you have so that it's not so expensive to build. And of course, lumber and everything is so much more, copper, everything goes into these places. So it's really tough to do this if you're going to layer up with a whole bunch of fees and charges and things. So all the inputs have to be looked at and say, you know what can we do here to reduce specifically? Okay, you can do it for people who want to afford it maybe, but specifically, how do we get this housing built?
Mm-hmm. Well, Penny, you've got in your area there, in your jurisdiction, certainly as you referred to earlier, you've got some more of the, out of the affordable price range housing developments going on there, but you've seen a lot of development in the Collingwood, Town of Blue Mountains area. But obviously you also have neighboring jurisdictions. You've got Stayner and you've got other areas there. And what are you seeing there in terms of housing development, the rate of development, and maybe even the pace of development and the affordability of it?
Well, what I do say is the developers have discovered the South Georgian Bay area. And it's interesting because the current council, until the new council comes in the town of Blue Mountains, one of their very first things they did was the mayor took the affordable housing concept to heart, and they bought the old Foodland site. Then they demolished the building. Now they've been working on developing a municipal private corp that will actually develop and put in some affordable housing. They're looking at many different ways they can fund it. They're going to put in some potential for things like buying bonds, municipal bonds that could fund the building of the affordable housing. The town of Collingwood with the Affordable Housing Task Force has started to look at this as well. It's kind of interesting to see. The developers are here, and I think they need to negotiate with some of the developers to try and build.
So
Collingwood is an interesting community.
Yeah. Go ahead and
It's
tell us about the
interesting when you talk about Collingwood, the number of people that you talk to, I'm going to say from away if I use an Eastern term, think Collingwood is Blue Mountain. That's the first thing they say. Oh, Collingwood's Blue Mountain, that's Collingwood, right? And you go, no. That's in the town of Blue Mountains. It's another municipality over. But it's so closely tied. Collingwood is the largest center, and we have all the major shopping centers, stores, all those sorts of things. And we draw from the whole South Georgian Bay area. So we draw from Wasaga Beach, we draw from Clearview, and we draw from Blue Mountains. But we use all of their amenities. We have Wasaga Beach with the beach. We have Blue Mountains that has the Blue Mountain resorts. And then Collingwood is sort of the anchor in the center. So they're starting to think a little more regionally, even though they are 4 separate governments.
So Penny, let me ask you this question then. First of all, is it fair to say that there are those who are generationally invested in Collingwood? I'm going to refer to it as the old folks or the existing families, if you will, and I don't mean old
Yes.
in terms of age,
No.
but people who have been there generationally.
Generational,
And
yes.
those who have moved into the
Yes.
region, maybe they're leaving Rosedale, Forest Hill, and they're looking for retirement life, or they're well enough to do professionals, et cetera, and they're buying in. Is there a divide there? And again, if I'm completely out of tune, I'd like you to tell me that, because I'm just looking to figure out, who makes up Collingwood, and what is the thought process out
I'd
there?
like to add another community to that. So the Collingwood area, taking in Blue Mountains and some of Clearview, is the home in Ontario to private ski clubs. So what we have had for the last almost 60 years are what we call the permanent part-timers, the people who came up to this area to ski. Their dream was always, when they sold their Toronto home, they'd move to their chalet. The progression that's happened is they retired in Toronto, moved to their chalet, found out that they were the only one on the club grounds for most of the time, and decided to move into town. So they are people who have sort of been absorbed in with the old original townies. Like they used to say, you had to live here for 50 or 60 years before you were a local. That was the term that was always used. But now we've been discovered, and the number of people that have moved into this area for work, for lifestyle. They're here for the trails, they're here for the bay, they're here for the hills. And it's a matter of choice. We've got young families moving up into the whole area. So we've sort of got three categories. We had the people who were permanent part-timers who have now become full-timers, but they've been here for 60 years. And they're multi-generational families that are doing that as well. So it's kind of an interesting blend, but we're no longer the small community. And this election brought up a lot of different points for the candidates that were outdoor knocking, because part of what they found was they wanted some of the amenities they had in the big city. Our amenities are spread out. They're not concentrated in a recreation plex. They're not in a major building. So it's kind of interesting to see what the growing pains are going to be for the entire communities as we go forward, because we're changing, we're growing up. The official plan says Collingwood's going to have another 25,000 people in short order.
Well,
and where are we going to put them? What are we going to do with it? How are we going to cope with it? It's quite interesting.
Thank you for that, Penny. And for those of you who are at home who are wondering, I'm not passing notes to my partner here, Ron. We'll get his earpiece fixed, but Penny's just finished telling me about the fact that there's really three different categories, and one of the categories that I didn't mention is part of the recreation group, which is the professional ski clubs, and sort of the permanent part-time residents who frequent the area for skiing, which is of course reasonable and understandable, but how that blends all into the community. So thanks for that. Sorry, I just want to get
Is that a
Go ahead.
positive thing? Is that a positive thing?
Penny, is that a positive thing?
It's interesting. It has been a positive thing, because the people who were actively engaged in the city are actively engaged in our community. So they've moved up, they have joined the hospital boards, the church boards. They're into the community.
They're actively involved, they're into the
Actively.
community, and of course they're bringing some revenue into the community as well.
And there are a lot of folks who are choosing Collingwood as a second home.
Our whole
Absolutely.
area
A lot of
has,
people
we've
who
shifted to
just love
tourism.
that area, love the winter sports, the summer opportunities. Yep.
Absolutely. So I'll ask one more question about the Collingwood area,
Yes.
because you mentioned this, Penny, and you mentioned about the fact that Collingwood acts as a bit of a hub because you've got the different services that are there. One of the things that differentiates maybe a separated city like Aurelia or a separated city like Barrie, and I will refer to Collingwood not as a separated city, but is that it does have that sort of a hub feeling or that hub approach with community service providers in there, whether it is government related or not-for-profit or non-governmental organizations, but whether it's Service Ontario, Service Canada, hospital associations, and those who serve the people who need access to ancillary services. And I think that what I'm hearing from you is that Collingwood acts as that hub for the surrounding area as well. Is that a fair statement?
Pretty much. Most of the government offices that are located in this area are in Collingwood. Definitely we have the hospital, the largest hospital in the area, that's undergoing growing pains, and we're in stage 2 of the redevelopment of the hospital. So there's a potential for a brand new hospital on the horizon. And that became very apparent with COVID.
Well, speaking of brand new hospitals, we've got one that was recently announced in the Barrie Innisfil region, RVH, sort of phase 2, if you will. And but I think we're going over to, you guessed it, Madison, for some more breaking news. You were really good at this, and I'm not even seeing you sweat. Like,
I know. I mean, you know, like, we have a lot of people behind the scenes right now who are hustling hard to get us these numbers. Like I said, we're having some technical difficulties getting the numbers on the screen, so we apologize, viewers. But like I said, I'm running back and forth to get you the latest numbers. So Penetanguishene, you have a new mayor. Douglas Rawson is your mayor. And your deputy mayor, Dan LaRose, congratulations. And your councilors. So now this has changed. They did have like the wards. Now they have councilors at large, which many other municipalities have done this year, which is a huge change. So for your ward councilors, you have 5. You used to have 7, now you have 5. You have Bonita de Roche. Let me say, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Doug LaRue is a councillor as well. Suzanne Movand, like I'm saying these wrong, I apologize. And George Badabonker and Bill Waters. Those are your councillors at large. I apologize, like I said, if I am mispronouncing them, but congratulations to all.
Yeah, I tried to say it in Italian for Giovanni earlier. Nicely done, Madison. Without any rehearsal time, congratulations. First of all, I just thought I'd let everybody know we actually, as technological advanced as we are, we have the honor and the privilege of saying Mayor-elect and your worship-elect. I'll throw that out there as well. Doug Rawson is joining us, and we're going to throw over to him. And I believe actually he might be able to give us a little bit of information on who's joining you on council as well. So welcome to Rogers, Mr. Mayor-elect Doug Rawson. Yeah, Doug, can you hear us? And we can see you. You look great. I would have expected you to be smiling at this point, though. We can hear you whenever you're ready. How about this? We're gonna keep going. Oh, you're good? You know what? We'll come back into the studio just for a minute while that gets figured out, and our director will let us know when we have that. But so just as a bit of a note, from my understanding, actually we might have shared just a little bit of inaccurate information. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset, but as far as I understand it, they do have the council system or the ward system out there, not the councillor at large. So that is something that I believe we just received as a correction. So thanks for that, folks at home, and congratulations to all of those newly elected councillors-elect. So there is a bit of a period of time. Actually, they're not going to start work tomorrow. They'll probably get some training manuals and some crash courses on how to be a councillor and what the official procedures are, et cetera. But yeah, I do believe that you know, there is a bit of a ramp-up period. And one thing I remember when I had the privilege of being elected, it was you can celebrate tonight, but don't go out late, because I expect you here at 8 o'clock in the morning. You have a lot to learn. And that was great. So Mayor-elect, you didn't hear all of the accolades that we were throwing at you, but we're pleased to, I think, be joined by Mayor-elect Doug Rawson. Congratulations, sir, Mayor of Penetang. And we'll give it a whirl. For those of you who are at home, that's what he looks like. And we'll see. Okay, we'll come back. Yeah, listen, we can see it there, and that's also what he looks like, wearing a tie. So anyway, so what else though? I mean, I think I think that there are some other issues that I've been hearing about a lot lately, and we've talked about housing, we've talked about housing affordability. By no means is anybody done with that conversation. But certainly in the more concentrated areas, in the more concentrated municipalities, another area of concern that I think, I mean, yes, you can get people who are way over here and way over here, but the amount of people who are slipping out of, if you will, mainstream society because of either financial pressures or job loss, which is a financial pressure. Perhaps it's marital dissolution and breakdown of a family, and we are seeing people slipping into homelessness, and whether it's more or whether we're hearing about it more, there are some people who are arguing that, but I would definitely say, certainly in our municipality, we are seeing an increase, and we're hearing about an increase of people who are feeling these stresses and these burdens. And I think I'd like to use this moment just for a second. I think it's a responsible thing to say. That does not mean an increase in the homeless population that is suffering from drug addiction. It means we have people who are struggling to make ends meet, to keep their families housed or fed, etc. And yes, absolutely, succumbing to some of the environmental pressures is always a possibility, and that can include the stresses including mental health disorder, and that can include drug addiction. And I do want to be sensitive to it, because I think maybe in the past society hasn't been as aware of the fact that you cannot make any assumptions about a person's personal state. But I think that it is something that people are talking about more and more at home and amongst their peers, amongst their neighbors.
And it's a bit of a debate. Do you solve the homeless problem first and then the drug addiction, or you do try to solve the drug addiction problem and then do the homeless part? And I know experts are, debate the two. So once again, we're all talking about it, but nobody's really.
Can I put my opinion in there?
There are some fabulous organizations and people, community groups who are really, really focused in this area and who have done a fabulous job over the years. We've interviewed them on our TV program over the years, and kudos to them. It's with the help of the people out there in the community, along with the politicians who maybe can provide some resources and some assistance that will help deal with this.
Ron, I want to say one
problem.
thing, and I'm used to getting yelled at, and that's okay, but I'm going to say this because I think it needs to be said. For far too long have people wanted to present that they're having the conversation. There's a lot of pandering, there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of, look, we're having a committee for the sake of a committee, but we're not actually doing something. And I would love to see a municipality, whether it's right here locally in Barrie or whether it's in our surrounding, that sets a new standard for actually activating themselves as a unified group and reaching out to the province and to the federal level of government to demand that again, similar to the housing affordability concern, homelessness is not a localized challenge. It's not. It is a bigger challenge, and I would like to see that happen. That's what I hope I could see. But we're going to go back to some numbers, and we're going to look at Penetanguishene and see what their numbers are, and they're going to come up on the screen right now, and we'll see how fast that goes. So as we mentioned, and we saw him on the screen for a brief moment, Douglas Rawson, congratulations for winning the mayoral seat in Penetanguishene. Given the number of people that turned out, by a sizable enough margin, I would say there. Dan LaRose is deputy mayor. I believe that was mentioned by you, Madison, as well. That was a much tighter race, only separated by about 90 votes there. And who else do we have as councillors coming up on your screen? There we go. Councillor at Large is now referencing there as well. So Bill Waters, 1269. Wow. Look at that. One vote. If you've ever wondered
if your vote matters.
There it is, folks, right there. One vote. And again, we've got councillors at large: Doug LaRue, Suzanne Marchand, Bonita, and I missed the rest, but congratulations. You'll see them come across your screen later. Doug LaRue, former mayor, ran as councillor, so congratulations to him. It'll come back up on your screen again in just a second. We're seeing this at the same time you are.
And both
And
former
Bonita
mayor.
DeRoche and George Vedaboncoeur.
You nailed it.
Wow.
You nailed it.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, I cut you
I
off.
was just saying that the former mayor and deputy mayor weren't running for re-election this year as well. So, I mean, tight race all around.
Absolutely a tight race, and yeah, you know, I don't know what that is as a voter percentage or a turnout percentage, and you know, check your news tomorrow. I'm sure we'll start seeing some reporting on that. Severn numbers coming up on the screen that were referenced. Mike Burkett, a commanding and decisive victory as mayor of Severn. So congratulations, Mike. Actually, I haven't seen him in a few years. A great guy, very, very personable.
You
I'm
just
sure he'll
know
look
everybody, don't
I
you?
just had the pleasure of shaking his hand. That's it. But a very personable individual, and congratulations, Mike. Fantastic. Dan Jensen. I believe, is this not the same Dan Jensen that ran provincially, I believe, for the NDP not so long ago? If it is, congratulations, Dan, as well. Fantastic fellow, very nice human being. Don't know much about him, but he I don't know if that's considered a commanding lead or not, but certainly not open to debate. He wins Ward 3. Wanda Minnings, again, a decisive victory there for her. Congratulations, Wanda. Fantastic in Ward 4. I'm going to take a sip of water.
Yeah, good idea.
I think it's right
idea.
over
That's
here.
a lot of.
Oh, I don't know.
that's a lot of
Did it
talk.
disappear on me?
That's a lot
No,
of
there it
talk.
is.
We're
That
hiding
is a
it
lot
on
of
you.
talking. Okay, so we've been talking about housing. Oh, there's Judith Cox. Okay, and again, congratulations, Severn. At home, we're seeing this when you're seeing it, so fantastic. Judith, congratulations. So, we're talking homelessness, we're talking drug addiction, we're talking about housing affordability, we're talking items that are being spoken about by the people at home. What do you think people are saying to the people who are coming and knocking on the door? Are these critical issues that they're bringing up and expecting a councillor to solve the housing affordability issue? Are they expecting a councillor to solve the homelessness issue? Are they what is the capacity of a single councillor?
I have my.
Oh,
Are you going to do some
Basil
more?
Clark.
Yeah.
Basil Clark is the incumbent, and he got a fight. He got a fight from Mark Sharp, for sure, and Russ Cole, congratulations. And you know, I think it's also worth saying to all those who are not the successful candidate this evening, still a big tip of the hat to those who put their name in to represent their community. Keith Bell, Deputy Mayor, very close there as well. He defeats the incumbent by 57 votes. That's also a close one. So Keith Bell, congratulations. Romero, Deputy Mayor. No numbers there.
No.
And no
It's a
numbers
tight
there.
race.
So, yeah, very
Well,
tight
I
race.
mean, we are still getting so many votes coming in, and many municipalities not even having numbers come in until later this evening, but we will get them to you as soon as they come in. I might have to run out, maybe come back, get them for you if they're not up on your screen, but we will get them for you.
So if you look at the local literature that came door to door, though,
Yes,
you are
there's a lot of it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter which ward it's in. You're seeing some consistent things, and I'm going to refer to Barrie because that's what I saw come to my door. Potholes. That's been around as long as there have been roads, I guess, but potholes is an issue. People with the noisy mufflers or speeding and safety, community safety.
I was going to say pedestrian safety.
Pedestrian
Speeding
safety.
was a huge issue. Midland, Clearview, Oro, that was,
Yeah.
you know, it was a huge topic that many people in the audience were bringing forth.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah. So
Penny, car rallies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wasaga Beach has had what a summer. They've had about 3 different rallies where it's sort of announced, and all of a sudden the next thing we hear is major OPP presence in Wasaga Beach because of the rallies. These are the souped up cars that are
That's a shame.
doctored, shall we say, and we've had some major fights, we've had some arrests, we've had some drug deals. It's amazing what a culture can bring into a community, and they just drop in.
And so say that one more time, though, because it's a culture that can, is it locals participating, or is it those who are coming into town to do this? And
Actually, it's quite
fascinating.
fascinating. They come from all over the country. There's a large contingent that come from Quebec. These are events that happen. They're spread on, the location is spread on the internet. They set a date on fairly short notice, and all of a sudden everybody's coming.
So
And-
one has to wonder, are those who are organizing the rallies better organized than those who are in government or in law enforcement? Because they certainly get the word out and they're certainly attending, and if I'm hearing you correctly, it's almost like on a day's notice.
Well, it's interesting because it's not a special event per se, but it's a special event that drops in over a weekend within Wasaga Beach. And I think it's because of the nature of Wasaga Beach, the type of roads they have, the sort of culture that happens. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to see what happens. And I mean, OPP are called in from all over Ontario to deal with it, to write tickets, I mean, some of the cars are technically illegal type cars. They're souped up in different ways. But there's also a fascination of people who want to come out and see the cars. So it draws from the locals who want to go and see, but it draws from all over the country. And that's a major safety issue for all the folks in Wasaga Beach.
So I'm hearing as well from those who are actually, I am getting a little bit of community participation here, which is fantastic. And they're saying, you know, a lot of these communities also used to have a great deal of community engagement, community involvement, a lot of activities, community participation, if you will. So, you know, there is tourism attraction, absolutely, but is the town of Wasaga Beach formally hosting and putting on through their tourism department the same type of community events as in recent history?
They certainly have a very active, family-friendly approach to their special events and their activities in the beach. These car rallies are something quite different, but it's a fascination. I think every little boy loves to see, and every little girl these days loves to see, a really unique type of car. So it's an interesting thing, but they tend to happen more during the evening hours. And there are safety concerns that go on, and that's what brings in more and more of the law enforcement, and way more than the local detachment can handle.
I can imagine that being a challenge. I mean, again, it's not the same thing, but if you look at what happened in downtown Toronto and what happened in Ottawa during the rallies, obviously, you know, you get a group of people who decide that they're going to converge. It really depends on how well resourced you are as an organization or as a municipality. So we will continue to see some new numbers come in. Innisfil is coming up on your screen right now, and well, Dan Davidson made a decision to run for mayor, and there are the results. Lynn Dolan has successfully, kept her seat as mayor. Congratulations, Mayor Lynn Dolan. And I think that is a significant statement being made. Kenneth Fowler, congratulations as deputy mayor. But Mayor Lynn Dolan obviously has resonated well with her community and remains re-elected as mayor in the town of Innisfil. And I will tell you, anybody who is watching Rogers and local news in the last few days, obviously what's happened in the community there over the last few weeks, has seen the mayor's commitment, and certainly she's expressed herself as a member of the community. Kevin Ices, incumbent, maintains his seat by about double the numbers. Grace Constantine, Ward 2, congratulations. A very tight race there, only 10 votes. Folks at home, your vote
Matters.
Not that I don't want to see her win, but your vote matters. Jennifer Richardson in Ward 3, a little bit more of a commanding victory there. Obviously, she had some people who ran against her, and there was obviously a vote split there, but Jennifer Richardson wins Ward 3. Alex Waters remains the incumbent, keeps his seat as Ward 4 councillor in Innisfil. There we go, Ward 5, Linda Zanella. That's another tight one. What is that? 7 votes. Yeah, I'm looking at the screen. Sorry, my eyes are cross-eyed. 7 votes. Separated Linda Zanella and Matthew Kenny, and then, only 40 votes separated the third place finisher. So Robert Saunders in Ward 6. Again, not a huge margin there, but congratulations, Robert Saunders, on your victory this evening, Ward 6. Fred Droge, 915. That is a more commanding decision that was levied by the members, the residents of Ward 7 in Innisfil. And yes, so congratulations to all of the.
Not a lot of incumbents in those races,
No,
and
a lot
of
of
them were very close. Very close.
Absolutely. And again, one of the things that we are seeing across Ontario, a number of members of council and mayor are not running again or chose not to run again. So we do have a lot of new blood in the mix anyway. But and again, that's interesting because we've got those who decided not to run. We've got those who are fully acclaimed, like as in Tay, as an entire council is acclaimed.
Which I think is brilliant. It's great to see new blood. A lot of people have talked about maybe some folks stay in politics too long, and that maybe we should have term limits and keep people moving through the system. It's great to see a lot of new faces and new energy, to address some of these problems that just keep getting more and more
so
challenging.
Speaking of change, Ron, speaking of big change, Stuart Strathairn was defeated decisively by Bill Gordon in Midland. So Midland, you have a new mayor this evening, or a new mayor-elect, if you will, this evening. So a commanding decision. That was a decision for change, obviously, in Midland.
So what happened there, do you think? Do you know?
I mean, no. Like,
No reason?
I can't
that was a
figure out
divisive
the
change,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, like, for example, a deputy mayor, we're talking about Mike Ross, he didn't run for re-election either, right? So
There's your,
yeah,
that was
exactly.
a close race there too, Matt. Jack Compton is the successful new candidate, as you mentioned. The existing deputy mayor chose not to run. There must have been sort of a feeling that change was in the air. If the deputy mayor chooses not to run again and the mayor is decisively defeated,
Absolutely.
there was obviously an era of change going on in Midland. So congratulations to the newly elected mayor, deputy mayor, and council. We'll see those numbers when we get them shortly.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking about council, like, I was, watching the debates and the meet your candidates meetings that were held, and a lot of questions really came up about teamwork and how the council was going to work together. So possibly maybe there was some conflict in the past.
Let's talk about
council.
Barrie just for a second.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about a term of conflict, I mean, that's exactly how I think Barrie's last term of council can be defined. Yes, there are some incumbents, some acclaimed incumbents, and you've got Gary Harvey and Rob Thompson, councillor for Ward 5 and Ward 7, who were acclaimed, and obviously, as you mentioned earlier, your thoughts are that is a sign from your electorate that says you've done a good job. We're not even going to run against you. And I remember that question coming my direction a few times, and I said, you know what? I will never run against somebody who's doing a good job just so that I can get the job. I mean, how do I know I'm going to do a better job anyway? But if they're doing a good job, why not support the person who's there? And that appears to have been done in Barrie in Wards 5 and 7. We'll see what happens for the rest of the city. We definitely have a new mayor in Barrie, one way or the other, and I have a funny feeling we'll hear those numbers really soon. And considering the deputy mayor is one of the mayoral candidates, obviously there will be a new deputy mayor. There is no nobody's running for deputy mayor of Barrie this time. That is something that council will decide internally. So we'll hear about that in maybe a month or so. But we have probably 6, if I'm not mistaken, 6 seats in Barrie's council will be new faces.
New faces, yep.
Which is incredible. I mean, that's a whole new council.
Yeah, well, it's 50% certainly
Right.
the turnover
Whole new
there.
ideas.
And then we'll see who's, I mean, it's definitely going to be 6 new faces, right? So we'll see about the rest. But so when you talk about that, though, and when we were just talking about, Midland. Oh, well, there on your screen, we see that Alex Nuttall
Look at how
ran a
tight that
very,
was.
very close race with Barrie Ward. So Alex Nuttall is now Mayor-elect Alex Nuttall for the city of Barrie with 13,000 and change votes to Barrie Ward's 12,000 and change. Sorry, I didn't catch that number. There you go. Alex Nuttall, former councillor, former member of parliament, and now Mayor-elect Alex Nuttall,
Now, I thought those
13,401.
numbers would be, I thought Mike McCann and Jerry Marshall would be, I mean, he had the best resume, I thought. Jerry Marshall, had been around and
Former mayor of Penetanguishene, warden
awards
of
and
Simcoe County, absolutely.
yeah, I guess.
But and again, please, Jerry Marshall will correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was that he did focus a fair amount on social media. I don't know how active his ground game was. I really don't. Anybody who knows Barrie Ward and Alex Nuttall absolutely know that they were at the door.
Yeah.
Alex Nuttall might be known as having had, he's an absolute strategist and knows how to run the machine for election machine. Barrie Ward, obviously, though, an exceptionally respectable second place finish there. And I'd be interested to know, as I think in history, the longest serving member of Barrie's council, 23 years, if I'm not mistaken. Apologies, Barrie, if you did, but that is a heck of a career or a commitment to community service.
Yeah.
Very well respected, always respected as a sage, wise voice around council. But he's defeated, and so the question is, what's next for him? But congratulations, obviously, to a very skilled politician, a tactical genius, if you will, at the door, managed to get out the vote and had a great ground game. And so Alex Nuttall is the mayor of Barrie, or the mayor-elect of Barrie.
So that is the final result?
That is the final result, absolutely. We'll see what the wards bring in, but 13,401 for Alex Nuttall, 12, I think it was 601 if I saw it correctly.
That's right.
For
Yep.
Barrie Ward. And you do the math on that made up probably what, 85, 90% of the vote, if I look
the
at
other, and Mike McCann was fourth, but way behind.
distantly in the fourth.
And you talk about math, right? 13,000 votes on top of 12,000, 2,000. That is a lot of votes compared to the other municipalities that we've been seeing.
So here's the interesting thing. Do the math on all that. We got 13, we got 12, we got 20-something hundred and 1,500. Call that around total of 27, 28, 29,000 people voting.
Yep.
Out of eligible voters, I believe the number was 105,000 eligible voters.
Gosh, so that's like in the 20s.
We're talking about a 25% voter turnout, if that number is accurate. Penny, I see you there. Thoughts on that?
I'm intrigued. Our last Collingwood mayor was elected with over 9,000 votes. Technically, we're about 25,000 people.
Wow.
So I'm intrigued, and I was going to ask you, why do you think your voter turnout is low as you're looking at a new mayor?
Yeah.
That is always the time that you see so many people coming out to vote, because it's a change.
Well, Penny, that's a great question, and I think the question, I'm going to pick up on that question and piggyback on it just for a second. Does the fact that the existing mayor, Jeff Lehman, decided not to run for council, did that have an impact on voter turnout? Last time he was elected, it was around 92, 96% of the vote that he got, if I remember correctly. It might have been the time before, but certainly it was a compelling number both of the times he ran for re-election as mayor. Compelling numbers. Now the number is dramatically lower. Does COVID have anything to do with it? I don't know. Does the fact that we went online or on telephone voting have anything to do with it? I don't know. It is a very dismal number. If I'm somewhere close to 26, 27, 28% voter turnout, that's not good.
But
that's
Penny-
not-
but
The one
Penny's
thing
right.
that always occurs to me is that often when it's a change vote or it's a clean slate at the top, people come out to support the new candidates. And I'm absolutely fascinated that your numbers are that low in Barrie.
Yeah, we will pick this up, I think, in just a moment, but we do have the Town of Blue Mountains numbers ready to show for you here. And the Town of Blue Mountains has elected Andrea Matrosovs. I
Very
hope I
good.
got that right. I did it right? Okay.
Andrea Matrosovs, yes.
Matrosovs. Oh, maybe I added a little bit
Yeah.
too much Eastern European.
Now, she was a councillor in the last term,
So a well-known individual.
a well-known individual.
And it's a decisive
Yes.
vote by
Yeah.
500 votes. She got 50% more than her second, the runner-up there. So,
And Peter was acclaimed as the deputy mayor.
okay, fantastic.
So here comes
Councillors at
council.
large. Go ahead, Penny.
So Alex Maxwell has been elected. He's a longtime resident in the area. Paula Hope, a current councillor. June Porter. Gail Ardeal, who was a councillor prior. And Sean McKinley. There is their council.
And I'm just going to say this. Gail Ardeal has the best Honeycrisp apples when they come in harvest time. She is awesome.
Yes, she does.
Absolutely. I had the pleasure of working with her at the Wasaga Conservation Authority. Love her attitude. Glad to see her back.
So they've got an interesting blend in the Town of Blue Mountains Council.
Excellent. And we have some numbers for Barrie's City Council results.
Nice.
So we'll take a look at those right now as they come up on the screen. Claire Riepma, a decisive victory for him. Congratulations to the incumbent, Claire Riepma, 1,752 votes, doubles the second place. Craig Nixon, a fairly strong vote for the downtown ward, is known as the downtown ward, Ward 2, defeating Shanika Edwards, by 400, just under 400 votes. So congratulations to Craig Nixon, Ward 2. Anne Marie Kungle, an absolute victory there, 2,000 votes. She is the incumbent and decisive victory. Congratulations to her. And that's a statement to her. Oh, I think I just missed one there in
Amy.
4.
Amy Corser.
Amy Corser. Ah, there it is. Amy Corser. Again, a very decisive vote. Congratulations, Amy, to you. And Tim Abel was, I think, about half, if I remember that. Incumbent, as we talked about, Robert Thompson. Obviously, his vote, his electorate was pleased with him. Nguzi, yes, absolutely fascinating. That man, you could see him all summer long out there on social media as well as at the doors. A very commanding victory.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And Amy Corser, of course, she's such a community person involved with these are great people to have on council.
Absolutely. Gary Harvey remains the incumbent, acclaimed, and I should have said acclaimed to Robert Thompson as well, so congratulations to both of them. Jim Harris, a very, very strong win there for him, 2877. He's the incumbent, and his ward spoke for him. John Webb, a very respectable turnout for him. Sergio Morales, up against, I don't know if it was 3 or 4, I don't know if that's the end of the list there. That says it all, 1427. This is Councilor Morales.
There's another case of people happy with
Third term on
performance.
council, young, remains young, and certainly very engaged with his community. Bryn Hamilton, that was a much tighter race, but still commanding successful run for Bryn Hamilton, former Mayor Rob Hamilton's daughter, and I don't know if she'll be mad at me for saying that because she is her own person, but certainly not an unfamiliar name in the city of Barrie. Bryn Hamilton,
Rob
well
Hamilton's
done.
daughter.
Congratulations to you. So once more, a wrap up, a very definitive vote for Alex Nuttall, a former councillor, a former member of parliament, and now the mayor-elect of the city of Barrie. And best wishes as well to whatever Barrie Ward chooses to do going forward. Certainly a good man who served our community very well for the last, I think, like I said, about 23 years.
100%, yeah, he was our councillor, yep.
Yeah.
Excellent, man, excellent.
So those are the numbers. Those are the numbers here. But Penny, you asked the question. You said you're baffled or fascinated or whatever the word. I think you said fascinated as to why the turnout is so low. And usually, when your thoughts were when there is definitely going to be new blood or a new person in the mayoral seat, you would expect a higher turnout.
Well, usually new candidates inspire people, or they're approached and said, you should run. So usually they have a team behind them that translates into vote getting. I know we've certainly had that in this area with three different people running for our mayor's position. And I'll tell you, they've been hitting the bricks.
Yeah.
Knocking on doors, handing out their information, talking to people. There have been backyard parties through the summer where just invited in for a neighborhood chat where the candidates have spoken and then taken questions from soup to nuts as far as the questions that came out too. I went to a couple of them. They were quite interesting.
So I'm going to offer you this here locally in Barrie. I think that this is an interesting result, actually, now that I think about it, like 13,000 and change to 12,000 and change. Let's just call it 13,000 to 12,000 for the sake of it. That's not a big difference. That's 1,000 people separating. And if you look at the two platforms of those two candidates, Barrie Ward and Alex Nuttall, I believe they were exceptionally different platforms. Oh, I'll get to my own opinion later. We've got Tiny Townships update. So David Evans wins again decisively, 4,102 to Tony Mintoff's 2,242. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Sean Miskimins. Yes, I got it right. Thank you, Sean. 2,537 to 2,163. Tiny Councillor Stefan Walma. I missed it, excuse me. Councillor Walma, I believe, keeps his seat. Let me see here.
Whatever you want, man.
And Stefan Walma was the former deputy mayor.
There he is again. Kelly Haloka, Dave Brunel, all winning as councillors in Tiny. Congratulations to them. But just back to Barrie for a second. Barrie Ward, I think, again, always very reliable, very wise. Oh, we are going over to Alex Nuttall.
Well, I just want to wish everyone happy Diwali today because it's obviously an important day for a lot of members of our community, and we've had a lot of fun celebrating over the weekend. But happy Diwali to all members of definitely the Indian Canadian community here in the city of Barrie. It's been a lot of fun on the campaign trail. And I'm going to start by just saying thank you to so many people. And if everyone could just bear with me for a few minutes on that, because these things don't just happen. They take work and effort and time. And I think the first person that I actually need to thank is our Mayor Jeff Lehman, who served the city incredibly for the past 16 years, 12 as mayor. So I think we all owe him a big round of applause. To Barrie Ward and to Mike and certainly to Jerry and everyone who put their names forward. It's no small thing to put your name forward to run for public office. It's offering to serve the community. And certainly I know Barrie served the city of Barrie. I almost did his slogan there for him. Barrie has served the city of Barrie for 22 years incredibly well. He's an incredibly capable individual, and I just want to congratulate him on a well-run campaign. To our campaign team, our campaign manager, Lynn Strong.
A little, but it was so low before. Why is it too long?
Where you been all my life, Lynn? Come on. And to, I'm just going to recognize some folks. Jenny LeCollier, where are you? Our CFO who kept us online all the time, so thank you. To Natasha Hallekas, where are you, Natasha?
So if they want to adjust it down a bit.
Right here, Natasha. Natasha has been, well, let's just say she says things a lot nicer and a lot better than I do, and she's been doing that on behalf of the campaign. So Natasha and I went to elementary and high school together, so it's incredible to have her on the team and here, and has done an incredible job. To Sandy McConkey, who's I met in a car about a decade ago, just under a decade ago. To Kenesha, who's like done all this incredible work, and all of the fundraising, volunteering, all of the hours you folks spent saying why our vision for the city of Barrie mattered. And I just want to touch on that. You know, we put a vision before the people of Barrie that said, we know that this city can move forward, but we know we need to make sure that we fix our roads, that we take care of the assets that we have, that we, as we're navigating this very difficult time in terms of some economic turmoil, high inflation, high interest rates, that now isn't the time to keep running with high tax increases. You know, we put forward a vision that said, as we're growing in terms of residential growth, we need to make sure we have jobs for folks who live in Barrie and jobs for folks who are moving to Barrie. We said that in our downtown, we can definitely help people from here that need help. But we also need to help those folks who are left on the side of the road in the city they don't know when they come out of Penetang. We need to help those folks get home, and we need to help those folks get transitional services, not be left to fend for themselves after being institutionalized. We need to make sure that we have a properly funded police department here in the city of Barrie. And that's what we're going to work on as a council. The reality is the mayor is one vote. But I know that over the next number of years, we'll be able to accomplish great things for the city. We'll be able to make sure that we leave this city in an even better position than we've inherited it in. And I know there's an incredible team that's been elected tonight on behalf of the citizens of Barrie. And here's one thing I know. Here's one thing I know, that the citizens are never wrong. They've put together a team that will work together. They've put together a team that will bring a diverse set of backgrounds, experiences to the table. And I know going forward that we're going to work incredibly hard on your behalf. Finally, I just want to say this, that I was a little late, and that was because I wanted to go and tell my kids before I told anybody else. Yeah. And I want to say thank you for bearing with me, Bob and our team. Thank you for bearing with me in the media. You know, family matters, and it's incredibly important. And so we're going to work hard every single day to ensure that the families that choose Barrie as home get a great city, they get a great downtown, that they enjoy the quality of life that the waterfront and the hills have, and that they have a safe place to raise that family. I see in the room a few councillors elect. One was acclaimed, Robert Thompson. I see Sergio Morales here. I don't know if I see anyone else. Please point out if I've missed anyone. But I also see candidates who put their name forward for council and weren't successful this time. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for fighting for your beliefs. And as we move forward as a city, I know it'll be one that we do together with cooperation. And I know that even though I didn't receive 100% of the votes tonight, I'll work very hard to represent 100% of the people. Thank you so much for your time and effort, everybody.
Do you have time?
Yeah. Yes, you want to do it over here? Yeah.
So we've just heard from Mayor-elect Alex Nuttall at his campaign headquarters, or victory party, if you will. And congratulations, Mayor-elect. And in his closing comments were, I know I didn't receive 100% of the votes in Barrie, but I promise you I will work very hard to represent 100% of the residents.
Such a profound statement.
Yeah. And I don't know if I remember that exactly, but we'll go
good.
with it.
No,
yeah.
you did.
And so congratulations to him. My thoughts were, though, obviously this is a very divided vote if you look at it, because it's almost a 50-50 split. It's not quite, but it's almost a 50-50 split. You know, I believe if I remember reading Barrie Ward's literature, it was very much a stay the course piece of literature, following on, continuing on Mayor Lehman's legacy and the priorities that council and previous councils had set. So his was definitely a stay the course. Alex is a bit different. It's a little bit more direct in his tone. It's saying we're going to make some necessary change. We're going to serve the people who need us most. We're going to make sure that our police service is well funded. You know, these are some pretty strong statements to be made from a councillor-elect and, a mayor-elect, excuse me.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, very fiscally conservative. He mentioned that that now is not the time to be raising taxes. At least that's the message that I got. And I think there's some folks that might have been concerned about that, but a little more fiscally responsible. We're going to try to get these things done.
Get the people the help that they need and at the same time deliver the services. We have some new numbers though to take a look at, and this is from the town of Wasaga Beach on your screen. So Mayor Brian Smith defeats Nina Bifolchi quite well, very strong, 4,477 to 2,937. There's a statement being made by the residents of Wasaga Beach. And Brian Smith, I believe he was a councillor for a couple of terms as well.
Very much so. I remember. Yeah, that's an interesting result.
Absolutely. Penny, I don't know if you're Deputy Mayor Tanya Snell defeats Sylvia Bray by double. So
both
again,
incumbents they're beat.
Both incumbents are beat. This is a statement of change. Joe Bellinger, 5,803. Ellen Timms, Sasha Rose DeLeo, and Faye Ego. Only one of those four are incumbent, and they are now the councillors at large for the town of Wasaga Beach.
This is a council of change.
Go ahead, Penny, please.
This is a council of change. Brian Smith served one term as mayor, and Nina defeated him in the last election.
Thank you for that correction.
And he always said he would come back.
Well, he did.
And Sylvia Bray, I thought, was a safe deputy mayor, and she's been defeated as well. So it's quite fascinating, the change that's happening in Wasaga Beach.
And I mean, are any of the candidates really safe in voting? I mean, we've seen so much here just tonight. You know, people winning by more than half of the vote. And these are changes that we have never maybe seen before.
Yeah, these are fascinating numbers, and I'm sure they're going to be analyzed a lot in the coming days, particularly in Wasaga Beach. Yep.
Okay, we're going to take a look at those numbers now again one more time for Wasaga Beach. Councillor at Large, Joe Bellinger, Ellen Timms, Sasha Rose DeLeo. Richard White we now have Richard White winning as councillor at large. Those are the final numbers in there. So we look at a number of incumbents who have been defeated, and again, totally supporting your comments there, Penny. This is a decision, a vote for change, absolutely, in the town of Wasaga Beach. I would tell you that states that the people were not satisfied with the direction, and they're looking for maybe a different relationship with the residents or a different relationship with the staff and the administration in the town of Wasaga Beach, because that's been in the news quite a bit. Maybe you have some thoughts on that, Penny.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the beach has a few big things. The Beach 1 development, and the second thing is the casino is to be opened this year or early into 2023. So they've got a couple of things coming along, but the development of beachfront number 1, I think, was the biggest election issue in the beach.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Brian Smith, obviously, as we say, stirred the pot.
So we have the numbers up on the screen for you. Midland's Mayor-elect Bill Gordon, and as luck would have it, he joins us now from Midland, and we believe we've got his audio just about queued up there. Mr. Mayor-elect Bill Gordon, congratulations if you can hear us.
I just had to step out of the festivities. It's a little loud in there. So down at Cellarman's in Midland, and one of our new pubs is reopening. Sorry, I got a little feedback there. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Mayor-elect, if you can hear us, please go ahead. We do hear you, but there's a little bit of feedback, and now we can see you clearly, and we believe we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, my phone was blowing up tonight, so I don't have a lot of juice left.
No doubt.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's very humbling. It was a long campaign. I was the first guy to file on May 2nd when nomination opened. And it's been, an interesting campaign, I would say. There's a very divisive wedge issue at play with our waterfront's future, as well as all the, the regular run-of-the-mill important stuff for council to manage, including our spending and taxation, our homelessness issues in town, housing, affordability, it's our planning issues just there's a lot of work before the new council. And it looks from the results tonight that the residents have sent me a very able team, some with experience and some are brand new, but all equally passionate. And I really look forward to getting to know some of these new councillors and working collegially over the next 4 years to advance the very best for Midland.
So, Mr. Mayor-elect, obviously there are a couple of words that you've put out there that I think are resonating in our minds. Obviously, working collegially, a wedge issue. It was definitely a definitive decision made by the electorate to replace the incumbent with you, as well as I believe with the deputy mayor. And you've identified a whole slate of things. How do you go forward with a united council? How do you bring that story, that message to council, and how do you get that collaborative approach?
Well, I can tell you step one, while we're still able to, before we're sworn in, I'll be hosting a dinner with all of our new councillors and their spouses, so we can get to know each other, learn a little bit more about what makes us tick, and this part-time job for the next 4 years that really ends up being a full-time job. Working together collegially is really just about mutual respect, understanding that all 9 of us come at each issue with our own perspectives, as well as those of the representative, people that sent us to the room. And it's just about letting everyone have those conversations, making sure we're armed with all the facts, and most importantly, making sure that we all have the exact access to the same information to make good decisions. That's a challenge that I felt that we were suffering with for the last 4 years. And I think that's something that we can work together with staff and this new council to make sure that we're all able to make decisions with a full breadth of information before us, working collaboratively with the community and involving them far more in the decisions than perhaps other councils have done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you, absolutely, Mayor-elect. And I know your battery's almost out, and I'm sure you've got family and friends and a whole group of people who want to continue to applaud your efforts. We wish you nothing but success to you and your new council going forward.
Well, thank you very much for the time and interest, and definitely a big shout out and thank you to the voters and residents of Midland, and I'll do my very best to make them proud, and we'll work very hard for them for the next 4 years.
Best wishes, sir.
Well done.
Well
Great.
done.
Cheers. Good night.
Good night. So, I mean, you're hearing it right there. Obviously, wedge issues, but a goal towards collaboration, a goal towards making sure that everyone has a voice.
All of our communities in Simcoe County and the area that we cover are experiencing more or less the same issues. Quite interesting, he brought up homelessness, in the smaller communities, and I mean, years ago that was like unthinkable.
Yeah, but he also brought up waterfront redevelopment issues, and that was what we just talked about in town of Wasaga Beach. But we do have new Tecumseh numbers coming up on the screen here. Richard Norcross, no stranger, mayor. I believe he was deputy. Am I correct? He was deputy. And he is now the mayor of New Tecumseh in a relatively close race. What is that, 300 numbers? Donna Jebb, yes, was on council. Certainly no stranger to the area. Stephanie McClellan, is the deputy mayor. Yeah, 5,000 to 4,000 or 51 to 42. Yeah.
And Michael Beattie was a councillor.
Absolutely. Chris Rapin is the councillor for Ward 1, 737, defeating the incumbent quite handily.
Lots of changes.
Yeah,
that
lots of changes.
Is gone.
Wendy Gabrek, 484, a bit of a tighter race there for Ward 2. And you know what, in fairness, a bit of a tight race because you got more people in the race. Ward 3 is the incumbent, Paul Foster, wins, but again, he had a good challenge there. Ward 4, Alan Masters. Again, a good fight there, but he does win. Congratulations. A new member of council in Ward 4. Another new member in New Tecumseh, Mark Biss, 355, a much tighter race. And again, if you look at that, that's not quite 33, but anyway, Ward 6, Nicole Cox, 781. And again, yeah, I mean, that was, she wins, what is that, about 60% of the vote there in Ward 6, but another new face to council in New Tecumseh. So congratulations to Nicole Kosh. Ward 7, we are, count to 3, 1, 2, 3, there it is. The incumbent wins once again, Shira Harrison McIntyre. But again, a lot of people ran against, people ran against her, let's put it that way, and therefore splitting the vote. Andrea Jacks defeats incumbent Alan Lacey by about double, just a little bit more. So congratulations to her, and those are the numbers for New Tecumseh. So again, we're seeing, for those who were not acclaimed, and for those who did not choose to not run again, we're seeing a lot of change. We're seeing a lot of new faces.
And again, I think that energizes the whole system. And we were saying before that we're facing a lot of problems in Simcoe County, and we need some action.
Well, another number coming from Simcoe County is Springwater is coming up on the screen right now. And Jennifer Coughlin defeats Perry Ritchie, as mayor of Springwater. George Cabral as deputy mayor. Again, a relatively close race there. Again, every vote does count. Ward 1, Matt Garwood, a strong finish for him. So congratulations in Ward 1. Ward 2 had their councillor acclaimed, Danielle Alexander. Congratulations to her. Brad Thompson. So the fire chief of Barrie actually was narrowly defeated by Brad Thompson in Ward 3, but I guess he'll go back to being the fire chief of Barrie, so good to have him back. Anita Moore, incumbent, retains her seat as Springwater's Ward 4 councillor. And Ward 5, Phil Fisher, congratulations to him. Again, a relatively tight race. I mean, certainly some participation happening there. Phil Fisher in Ward 5. So we're back now. I'm wondering if I'm going to hear in my ear. I have a suspicion we are going to be joining, having an interview with another successful mayoral candidate who sought re-election and was successful. Are we good to go? Yes. So we are speaking with a very successful incumbent, Mayor Lynn Dolan. And we're thrilled to have you with us on Rogers. Mayor Dolan, fantastic to see you. Congratulations on your victory, Mayor Lynn Dolan. Well, that's your name. Yes, we see your name. Lynn, can you hear us, Mayor?
I can hear you. Thank you.
It's very nice to see you, and congratulations, Mayor Dolan, on a very successful and decisive victory. You were challenged. You were challenged by a deputy mayor, and your electorate spoke to you. We want to congratulate you, and as well, by the way, obviously heartfelt condolences from an entire community and an entire continent. I would say you've had a very challenging past few weeks, and I believe the community is with you. So this is bittersweet, but congratulations. Your leadership really rang through here today.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a testament to how well Council gelled and worked together over the last 4 years. We managed to get so much accomplished, even with COVID, kind of tying one hand behind our back. So I'm really very proud of the Council this last term, and I'm glad that the community feels the same way.
So as an incumbent and as a successful re-elected mayor, quite decisively as well, what is an issue that, I mean, we have seen around the county, we've seen a lot of change this evening. We've seen mayors defeated, we've seen some acclaimed, an entire Tay Township, I believe, was acclaimed, but we've seen a lot of change. There's a new mayor in Wasaga Beach, the town there. There's a new mayor in Midland and a new deputy mayor there. We have a new mayor in Barrie. All votes that were about change. Your town chose consistency to stay the course with you. What would you say it is? What are you doing right? And what do you plan to do for the next term of council?
Well, I think a lot of it is about collaboration and working together. It's so easy for people to think, oh, the mayor did this or the mayor did that, but it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's everybody working together. Oh, the mayor did this or the mayor did Getting a little feedback. I apologize.
We're hearing you fine, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so it's working together. So we've got a lot of new people here on council. We've got 5 new members, so we're going to have to do lots of orientation, and after that, work on strategic planning. Look on what people are hearing at the doors. One of the great things about elections is you hear at the doors what people are very interested in, and we make that come to fruition through a strategic plan and budgeting for the next 2 years. So it's just about working together.
And so, Mayor Dolan, you've got a number of things that have sort of hit the headlines over the last few years. You've been trailblazing with things like cryptocurrency, accepting that for property tax, if I'm not mistaken. You've got taken a look at how you address the challenges around delivering public transit. You have an entire innovation center, an entire innovation team. You've got Orbit, which is the fascinating drawings for planned development with green space and active transportation, et cetera. And these are all things that you were doing, I don't want to say on your own, but certainly stand out as your town is taking on and tackling these challenges with new ideas that are, unconventional. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we've developed a bit of a reputation for being innovative. So now that we have that reputation, we have people reach out to us and say, are you willing to try this new idea? And because we're fairly agile and we can, small enough to kind of make these things happen, and we're brave enough and to pilot new things, understanding that some of them will work and some of them won't. And our motto has always been, if you're going to fail fast and move on to something else. But we've had some successes through that program, and we're always looking for ways to innovate and do things smarter, and not work harder, but work smarter.
Well, I'm not going to toot your horn too much, but I think you might be channeling a little bit of Elon Musk there, Mayor Dolan. But congratulations. Ron, you had something?
No, not at all. Just congratulations. That's awesome. You've great community, rapidly growing. You guys have done a great job.
Madison?
I mean, just Mayor Lynn Dolan, congratulations. I think I interviewed you about 4 years ago when you were elected then, and just huge congratulations to you and your continued success in the town. And as we said, condolences for what you've been going through this past couple weeks, and the community is with you and your whole council as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and thank you to all the residents of Innisfil for standing together through these last difficult weeks.
I'm sure you have family, friends, and supporters who are there who want your attention, and they deserve your attention. They've been the ones who helped you get through this. So we wish you the very best. I'm sure we'll see you in the near future. But Mayor Lynn Dolan has been re-elected handily, so congratulations to the people of Innisfil and yourself, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Of course. So let's take a look, and Penny, if you're there with us, we'll take a look at some numbers in Collingwood coming up here. And in Collingwood, we have Mayor Yvonne Hamlin, and she wins, I think, decisively there as well, defeating Norm Sandberg and Marianne McLeod running for mayor. But again, a pretty, there's a split there. That wasn't a unanimous decision, that's for sure.
As I said earlier, I couldn't have called who would be the mayor. Yvonne ran a very strong campaign.
And do you know about her platform? What is it? Do you think that? I mean, I heard you say you couldn't have called it, but do you know what was her primary talking point?
One of her major ones. She is a retired municipal associated working lawyer, and she's worked with developers. And she wants to develop Collingwood with our intensification. She wants to develop Collingwood in a smart manner. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction and the way in which she leads council forward.
So Penny, you had mentioned earlier about acquiring the food land and then taking that down and then designating that for,
That was Blue Mountains.
oh, I beg your pardon. Thank you for clarifying.
Collingwood hasn't done that yet.
Am I foreshadowing? Is that what you're telling me?
You never know.
So smart growth is a word that comes up. Hopefully it's not a hashtag. Hopefully there is actually something, some substance
Smart
behind
growth,
that, but-
and I mean, she's everything from safe streets to affordable housing. She was a member of the task force appointed by council. So she's going to have a lot of balls in the air.
Okay. And her deputy mayor, I tried to keep a straight face there, Ron, I swear. Her deputy mayor is Tim Fryer, and handily wins
Yes.
as deputy mayor. And what do you know about him?
Tim was the CFO of Collis, which was our municipally owned utility
Yes.
that was sold. Tim has been on council one previous term, and Tim started organizing for this run about 18 months ago. He was very, very determined. And the thing that's interesting on that board is Jordan Fleming got 778 votes, and she actually withdrew 3 days after she put her name in at the end
Oh.
of the nomination period.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And
So
the
I think it's a little bit of a protest vote there. Couldn't
Oh.
pick one of the others, so they voted for Jordan.
Might very well be. That is fascinating. So we have the councillors at large for Collingwood. Incumbent Kathy Jeffrey maintains her seat, and Deb Doherty retains her seat. I missed a couple there. Rob Ring, Christopher Bain, Steve Perry, all newly elected councillors at large, defeating again a few incumbents in there, but Brandon Houston and Chris Potts as well. Elected as councillors at large.
So with Brandon and with Chris, we have some young blood. Brandon is an entrepreneur in town, and so is Chris. So it's going to be interesting to see. Chris and Rob Ring both have strong ties with minor hockey.
I think it would be interesting, though, if you were a brand new mayor and you have brand new councilor members, a fair amount of brand new members of council. What is the difference in that dynamic versus having a brand new mayor with a bunch of incumbent councilors, or an incumbent mayor with a bunch of brand new councilors?
Well, Yvonne Hamlin was a
Interesting,
member of the
because, you know,
current
somebody-
council.
Oop,
Sorry, go ahead, Penny.
Yvonne Hamlin was a member of the current council, so she actually has stepped up to the mayor's position. So there'll be a level of continuity, and she will be well informed on all the issues.
So the mayor is a former councilor and has stepped up, so is able to keep continuity there. But your thoughts on that?
I remember talking to somebody years ago, and I can't remember specifically who it was, and probably not a good idea to mention it anyway, but they said, well, we're going to have to train the new councilors. The people who are running the show, we have to train the new to our way of thinking. So I love the idea that you got a new mayor, new councilors. You guys get to set all the rules. You get to run the thing the way you collaborate and the way you want to do it. I think that's awesome. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a control.
Well, I will tell you that. I mean, my inside voice when we had the newly elected mayor of Midland, I wanted to ask him that question. When you have you're new, when you have a disconnect maybe between the way the bureaucrats and the administration are running a town or a city, and you come in as a new mayor with new ideas, how quickly does that the polarization jump in, where the city staff and administration say, hang on there, we're going to show you how it's actually done. And there are a lot of people who have run in public office and successfully been in public office who have said there is some influence. Hang on, you're only going to be here for 4 years. We've been here for 30. We'll tell you how it's going to be done.
But at the end of the day, to your point, and to that point, the mayor has to be a leader. And they have to be a good leader. They have to get along with council, and they have to get along with the folks that run the city, because you don't run the city. You're the CEO.
Well, and absolutely too, if they're coming in with brand new ideas, right? These new council members or even mayor, deputy mayor, they're coming in with these new ideas, and well, maybe those ideas were before, but it takes more than 4 years to get those to pass,
Yep,
right?
good point.
We're going to take a quick look at Clearview while I'm getting disciplined here. So we have Doug Measures, absolutely acclaimed. So congratulations to him. Paul Van Staveren. Now there's a name. He is successful in running for deputy mayor. Fantastic news there. Certainly a name that's been well known in the community, familiar name in the community. So Phyllis Deneen, incumbent, retains her seat in Ward 1. So congratulations to fill us. And Robert MacArthur is a newly elected councillor in Ward 2 for Clearview. That was a pretty tight race. Actually, John Broderick, the incumbent in Ward 3, manages to hold on to his seat, but did get, you know what, if you do the math, there were enough people who didn't vote in that direction, but he did successfully manage to keep his seat. Robert Walker, incumbent, keeps his seat as well. In Ward 4, again, though, people were voting, expressing their interest in a different direction, just not enough to see some change. Ward 5, Marty Beelan, 532 against Melanie Waters. I think that's a pretty decisive victory there. So congratulations, Marty. So again,
in the nature of change, gentlemen, Clearview went from 7 wards down to 5.
Okay.
They did some redrawing. It is a very large municipality. And I think through looking at what the uses were, they managed to actually pare down their council, which is interesting.
Thank you very much. Angela Tosserantio.
It's a tongue twister.
Tosserantio. I've said it a few times. Mayor Scott Anderson, congratulations, defeating incumbent Floyd Pinto. And I would say, you know, decisively again there as well. Julius Locke is a new deputy mayor. Congratulations, Julius Locke, deputy mayor of Angela Tosserantio. Anub Simpson is a newly elected councillor of Ward 1. Bob Meadows, Ward 2, defeating incumbent Jonathan Pita. And he is back on council by the sounds of it. Bob Meadows. Incumbent Ronald O'Leary is successful in Ward 3. Nick Borsos. That was a tighter race if you look at it, and absolutely, if you hadn't seen all that vote splitting, it could have gone a different direction. But Nick Borsos, Ward 4, successful candidate there. Adam Cox successfully wins Ward 5. Oh, Essa's coming up shortly, but we'll
What
let
about
you know.
Oro? Have we seen any Oro numbers yet?
No, we haven't.
No, but we were definitely at the part of the night where numbers are going to start rolling in quick. So
We were expecting about a 1 to 1.5 hour delay, and we're a little bit past that. But as we've mentioned, Essa Mayor Sandy McDonald is the incumbent and acclaimed, and so is Michael Smith. And here we go. Essa Ward 1 incumbent. Say it, somebody. Peter Kiesebrink wins Ward 1. Henry Sander wins Ward 2 incumbent, defeating Sean Bubel and Paul Partridge. Both have run, I believe, or at least Sean has run in the past. Leanna Maltby wins Ward 3, defeating incumbent Ron Henderson in Essa Ward 3. So there you go. Those are the numbers we have. So again, though, 2 incumbent acclaimed mayor and deputy mayor. Let's head over to Shelburne's numbers, excuse me. Mayor, incumbent, acclaimed, Wade Mills. Deputy Mayor, Shane Hall, defeats Steve Anderson, the acclaimed. Not by a lot, just by about, 80 votes or so. Incumbent Lindsay Wagoner is successful, lost a couple. Kyle Fagan is successful as well as a councillor at large. And there are some unsuccessful candidates running for council, but there we go. Walter Bonotto, Len Gucciardi, and Daniel Sample all win. 2 of them are incumbent. 3 of them, including Kyle Fagan, is incumbent. Linda Buffett is not successful in retaining her seat as a councillor at large.
And speaking about councillors at large, do you think that's more of a challenge trying to get elected rather than being in the ward system that a lot of municipalities have?
I have a gut instinct that it's a tougher opportunity to have an intimate relationship with your electorate, but that's my opinion.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, it's an interesting experiment. You know, it's sort of you take the top people who collect the votes, and that's your that's something that we seem to be moving to. They've been trying to do with respect to getting more inclusive in provincial elections and federal elections.
Well, one of the things that you've seen, certainly when you have the ward system and somebody who really wants to give to their community, doesn't want to challenge the person running in their own ward, but does want to contribute, you do get the question that says, why are you running in my ward when you live in that ward and I'm only going to vote for some? That's not necessarily across the board. It has happened. John Broussard lived outside of his ward, Sergio Morales lived outside of his ward, a number have lived outside of their wards and have managed to represent the people that they were elected to represent very well. It's just, so yes, I agree, it allows you to not be restricted by that. But I do believe we have an opportunity actually, because as we were talking about how this race unfolded, the mayoral race in Barrie unfolded, and it's not quite a 50-50, it's maybe a 55-45 or something like that split, but certainly running a very strong campaign, and as recognized by Mayor-elect Alex Nuttall, Barrie Ward has served this community. I thought it was 23 for 22 years for sure. Definitely a very, very powerful figurehead and a wise figurehead in our community, someone who served for a long time. Ran a very strong race. We do have a little bit of feedback from Barrie Ward on the results of this evening's outcome. So let's take a look at what he submitted as a video.
Okay, Barry.
Good to go?
We're good to go.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a land acknowledgement, which I think is very important. So I'm going to do that quickly. I acknowledge that we live on the lands of the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge the Wendat Nation Huron, who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognize the enduring presence of the Indigenous people of this land. We are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect for all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Okay, as the, I just want to first of all say that Jeff Lehman would speak for 20 minutes without a single note, and I'm not Jeff Lehman, so I have notes. So first of all, thanks everybody for coming. As the saying goes, when I started this campaign, I didn't know what I didn't know. Running a mayoralty campaign is a lot different than running a campaign to be a councillor in a ward. There is just so much to do when you can't reach every door to get your message out. You rely on a team, and I'm extremely fortunate to have not only a good team, but a great team and an amazing team. From fundraising to organizing canvases, to staffing our office, to getting brochures done, to getting your signs out, to recording data, and more data. There are too many people to mention everyone by name, but be assured I appreciate the efforts of every one of you. There are some people who do deserve special recognition. And I'll start with Lori Crossan, our volunteer superstar, who took over coordinating the canvases on top of managing the volunteers. And Mark Garland, our volunteer coordinator, making sure we had enough to cover all the roles. Sue Christensen, our office manager, who kept the front desk staff throughout the campaign. Thanks, Sue. Sam O'Grady, who might still be at City Hall, I'm not sure she is, who our Get Out the Vote manager, who organized our final push this weekend, did an amazing job. Krista Lariviere, who's our website person and the driving force behind our fundraising. Krista, we couldn't have done anything without you. Carlene Fee, who was our graphic and literature design person. Thank you, Carlene. I'm going to mention, we had many canvassers, but I'm going to mention two canvassers that went above and beyond, and one of them is Jennifer Allen, who took on any and all volunteer roles. Jennifer's still here? She might have left, okay. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Lou LaRue, who's been in most of the apartment buildings in Barrie, dropping off lit. Thank you very much, LaRue. Victoria Butler and Sarah Jensen, who are not here, I don't think, but who did the social media and recorded the videos. A special mention of Victoria. I called her one take Victoria because she only ever did one take of everything. It was just amazing. I said, well, we can do that again. She said, nah, that's good enough. First of all, my team wasn't all women. Everybody's been a woman so far, but I do have a few men who work for me. Jeff Kavanaugh, who's been on every street in Barrie putting up signs. Thank you very much, Jeff. Chris Van Niekerk, who was here earlier, I'm not sure if he's still here. Our accountant who made sure the bills were paid and that we were on budget. Thank you very much, Jeff. Steve Jones, who I know is here, who made sure all the condos near the waterfront were canvassed, not only once, but several times. And Jack Landau for tech support and data management in the last few days. Thanks, Jake. Actually, Jack and then Jake. And second last, but definitely not least, is Tanya Sari, who was my campaign manager and somebody who I barely knew before this campaign started. But I went to, asked various people. I asked people that worked on Jeff's campaign. I said, who would be a good campaign manager? And they all, without hesitation, recommended Tanya. So thank you, Tanya, for all the hours you put in. One of the things, we had a lot of fights. Tanya and I had a lot of fights about everything.
We had 2 fights.
But I think the important thing was we all realized we were on the same team, and we always resolved it, and we always looked forward. So thank you very much. Finally, my family, our sons, Marge and our sons, Oliver and Julian, who are with us today. And Marge, who's on the screen at home, unfortunately tested positive for COVID last night and has been unable to join us. Marge started off not wanting me to run and then became my #1 supporter, worked tirelessly day after day. I love you, Marge. I really wish you could have been here tonight. I can't even hug you when you get home. That's the worst thing. I can't do anything.
Take her food.
Okay. Okay, I also want to take the time to thank my fellow candidates for mayor and all those who ran for council seats. It was great meeting many of you on the campaign trail. I want to say I'm proud of the campaign we ran. It was positive, it offered solutions, it didn't sink to fear tactics or name calling. One of my volunteers came up to me today to say, well actually it was Lori, to say it was a fun campaign that she enjoyed coming to work for every day. And I think that as high praise indeed, so thank you very much. So I have 2 endings for this, and I first read the one I was hoping I wouldn't have to read, but this is the one I have to read because it's a concession speech. So what now? Well, it wasn't a result I was hoping for, but I'm appreciative of all those who came forward to support me. It isn't my nature to look back, and I don't intend to start now. I have my family, I have my friends, and I suddenly have a whole lot more spare time in the coming months. And this is the second time in my life I've quoted Tupac. But I actually quoted him for our Rotary president's outgoing when he left, and I'm also going to quote him again today. So it said, you can spend minutes, hours, days, and weeks, and even months overanalyzing the situation, trying to put the pieces together, justifying what could have, would have happened. Or you can just leave the pieces on the floor and move on. And that's what I'll do. So thank you very much, everybody.
Sorry, Dad.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Marge.
So there you go, folks at home. That is a concession speech from former Deputy Mayor and longest-serving member of Barrie City Council, Barrie Ward. Very kind words, obviously.
Yeah, and he was extremely disappointed, I know it.
You can see it, for sure.
Yeah, and a great guy, and it's sorry to lose him from council.
Absolutely. You know what? However, if there's anybody who's paid his dues and done his part to serve the community, that is Barrie Ward. And it was nice to see him surrounded by his 2 sons, Oliver and Julian. And as he mentioned, his wife wasn't able to be there because she's not well. But one of the things that stood out for me, obviously, as you heard him say it at the end, and it was very similar to the way that he started his campaign, and it was basically channeling former Mayor or I guess he's still mayor for now, Jeff Lehman. And when Barrie made his announcement that he was going to run, he said, "Here I am, and we've had a good run, and I'm proud of the way that Mayor Lehman has served over the last 12 years, and I'm here to tell you I'm here to continue in those footsteps." And he pretty much finished his speech the same way, which is, "I'm proud of the work that we've done, and while it's not what I've looked for." It is the campaign that he ran, which was a campaign of continuity, and as we've seen across Simcoe County a fair amount, we are absolutely seeing a vote for change in a number of communities. So let's take a look at let's recap the numbers here. The mayors for Barrie, and obviously, as we've discussed, we have Mayor-elect Alex Nuttall defeating former deputy mayor and his closest challenger, Barrie Ward. We have Jerry Marshall coming in a significantly distant third, and Mike McCann, former councillor for Ward 10, coming in an equally distant fourth position. We've got Lynn Dolan, who defeated her deputy who ran against her, Dan Davidson, but she decisively wins a second term as mayor of Innisfil. Mauro Di Giovanni, there it is. He wins, defeating James Leduc in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. Just a huge, huge victory. That is like an upset of a victory for him. Richard Norcross, former deputy mayor of New Tecumseh, is the mayor of New Tecumseh, defeating Donna Jebb. Scott Anderson, Angela Tosserantio. I'll get it one of these days, folks.
That was excellent.
Yeah, that wasn't
You
bad.
have 4 years to study, so don't worry.
Well, he defeats incumbent Floyd Pinto. Anybody living there, my apologies. Sandy McDonald, the wonderful lady, incumbent and acclaimed mayor of Essa. And Springwater, Jennifer Coughlin, 347, defeating Perry Ritchie and Bill Haight. Quite, again, very successfully. Great, strong race over there. So congratulations, Mayor Coughlin, or Mayor-elect. So that's our recap. We are still waiting for a couple of
Aurelia and Oro-Medonte.
Oro and Aurelia.
Oro-Medonte is the one that is. I'm really anxious to see if Harry Hughes is reelected.
I'm wondering, did they do a manual ballot? Did they do a phone-in ballot?
I'm not. You know what? I don't.
Oro was manual, so they're counting. They are counting.
I mean, hey, at least we don't have to worry about mail-in ballots, like the states.
Yeah. So we've got Oro-Medonte, we've got Aurelia. That'll be an interesting one to see because there are a number of people vying for the seat of mayor as the mayor chose not to run. We've got some more numbers coming up here on the screen. Again, yes, Mike Burkett, a commanding victory as the incumbent mayor of Severn. So congratulations to him. Basil Clark, incumbent mayor of Ramera, former councillor and then mayor, and now incumbent and re-elected mayor Basil Clark. David Evans, tiny mayor, successfully defeating Tony Mintoff in Tiny. The entire Tay Township Council, including Mayor Ted Walker, have been acclaimed. That is I don't think it's the only one, though, in Ontario, out of 440 some odd
but that is unusual.
jurisdictions, but that is unusual, yeah. Absolutely. Midland Mayor Bill Gordon, we had him with us in the studio, or via phone or via video phone, so congratulations to him. And there again, as he talked about, is a vote for change, and that's your Midland Mayor and Deputy Mayor, our new mayors. Penetanguishene Mayor Doug Rawson. We're going to see if we can actually get a hold of him one more time. As you may or may not recall, we had a little technical challenge speaking with him, but of course we'd love to give him the opportunity and congratulate him. Yvonne Hamlin, Collingwood's mayor. And I believe Penny mentioned that she is a former councillor, so she's bringing with her some consistency to council and a relatively new
and understanding how things operate.
Absolutely.
It's important, I think.
Absolutely. Brian Smith, town of Wasaga Beach, former mayor, defeated by Nina Bifolchi, if I'm understanding correctly,
Yes.
and then re-elected as mayor. I'm wondering if that is a group of people who said, on second thought, we'll keep him, we'll take him back. So, because that's what it looks like, that's what happened. Doug Measures in Clearview is the incumbent, so congratulations to him. And Clearview got a new deputy mayor. Town of Blue Mountains, Andrea Matrosovs, did I get it right that time, is elected as mayor. And I believe I heard from Penny that she is a former staffer, I believe, or something involved.
Counselor.
Counselor, excuse me. I don't know why I heard staffer. Counselor, thanks, Penny. Appreciate it. Mayor Shelburne, incumbent and claimed Wade Mills. King. Incumbent acclaimed Steve Pellegrini. Yes, King City. Actually, speaking of which, a race to watch is down there as well with Del Duca, Stephen Del Duca. Involved.
Votes are still coming in
But
there.
you know, the city of Aurelia, how do you not have an unfair advantage when your name is Stephen Leacock and you're running for mayor? Like, how is he not get elected? Anyway, sorry.
Well, we don't know. We're about to find out.
Exactly, we're waiting.
Yeah, we are
Those are
waiting.
the most interesting two races.
But as we were talking about Tay and how the whole council has been acclaimed, and you were saying that it's not the only municipalities that have been claimed in Ontario. I just wanted to read you some stats. So obviously in Tay, Mayor Ted Walker and the rest of council have been acclaimed, but in Ontario, 6,306 candidates competed for 2,860 elected positions, and 548 of them were acclaimed.
Wow.
This year.
Out of 2,000, how many?
2,860 positions.
500 were acclaimed?
548
That's 15%.
acclaimed. Yeah, including Essa and Clearview, as we were just talking about, and Tay. And 32 councils across Ontario have been fully acclaimed. So just think about that. And we were saying, why are they acclaimed? Because nobody wanted to run against them, or nobody thought they were doing a
I'm
good
happy
job?
to be wrong. I mean, I certainly don't know. I spewed my opinion right there for a moment. Is it because is it because of voter apathy, or is it because of satisfaction? Here's another question. We've certainly read about it in the press recently, locally, but not just locally. The culture around the way that we respect or don't respect those who run for elected office.
Yes.
You know, there's this idea that if you run for elected office, you might as well be a Hollywood celebrity, and you should be able to have the thick skin, and we'll take it, and et cetera. And there are a number of people who have said, I tried it and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It was a toxic environment. The public was harassing, or the public wasn't nice, or whatever. And again, that's not the whole. However, I do think that there might be a part of that said, better you than me.
Well, also too, you're locked in for 4 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's not just
you can
like
quit.
but it's not just like I
It is a
won, I
commitment.
did a good job, right? But it's 4 years that you told the people of your municipality, I am here for you. So
Yeah,
is that what you're up to?
And in
It
fairness to some,
it takes a special kind of commitment, and you know, and over the years, I've met tons and tons of politicians and interviewed all kinds of people, and the one thing that really stands out for me is the fact that regardless of their political stripe, regardless of whether they're running for city council, running for mayor, running for MP, MPP, all these people really believed in making a difference and doing something, and that just stood out. I don't know that I ever ran into anybody who didn't have a really.
oh, you better love it. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're not doing
You
it
have
for
to
the
be
money.
passionate about it.
But
And here's
today
the
with social media and stuff, you could just get hammered. If you look at that, they'll just hammer you all day long.
But I will tell you though this, it is a lot of people who think they're going to run, and a lot of people who do run successfully underestimate the level of commitment. And I'm not saying that
work.
I'm not saying that to be disparaging towards them. It is surprising how much work it actually is. It's not just one day a week at council on television and et cetera. There are several committees that you're being appointed to, whether or not you're being sort of representing at the county level, or you're doing a number of committees, whether it's your downtown BIA or a police service or your library board, or you're doing working on accessibility or working with the seniors committee, the environmental committee. I mean, there are so many committees.
The schools too.
The school,
Yeah.
absolutely. There is a ton of work to do, and so all of these good people who've put their name forward are going to find out, if they didn't already know, it is a lot of work, and you better love it, because and I'll tell you, I miss it. I mean, it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed.
But you like this better.
What did
right?
you enjoy?
Oh, I love this.
What did you enjoy about it? What was it that?
What did I enjoy about it? Great question.
Like what
You know, what I enjoyed was being able to contribute, being able to be involved, being able to, you know, not just read about it in the headlines, but actually being involved and actually working with good people. And I will tell you, whether you're a colleague who is elected, or whether there is a staff member who's been working there at the municipality or at the Conservation Authority, at the library, these are all dedicated people.
Absolutely.
They are phenomenally dedicated people. They're wise, and they catch a lot of flack from people on social media and you know, people who only see sort of the headlines or only see it superficially. And that's not knocking the people who are at home. You don't get a chance to see the inner workings of an organization like a municipality. It's not frequent that you see that. You don't see the people who are working in the water treatment plant or the wastewater treatment plant or in the landfill and the environmental center. You don't get to see that as often as, you know, would be. It would be nice if they taught more about it at school, I would say, in, you know, elementary and high school level. But there are some genuinely phenomenal, dedicated, intelligent, wise people at all levels of service in public service. And it's, you know, why did I love it? I tell you, I loved it more than my career. And then maybe my client shouldn't be listening right now, but I actually loved it because, you know, you're doing it not for the paycheck. You're doing it because you have an opportunity to contribute. You have the opportunity to put some good minds in the room together and to affect some change. You have the opportunity, as Mayor Lynn Dolan said, to try something and to be bold. And maybe you make a mistake, maybe you don't, maybe you're successful, but you're not sitting as a bystander, you're actually actively participating. And that doesn't matter whether you're at a school trustee level, whether you're at a city council level, federally or provincially. It's about service, and it is a great feeling. And it tests you.
Oh, yeah.
And
Did anything surprise you while you were on council? Like any, challenges?
I will wrap it up in one thought. What surprised me? The recognition of how much I absolutely did not know. You know, that was staggering. And the steep learning curve, right? The crash course in everything. I mean, you don't walk around. There isn't a single candidate that went door to door for any of the positions this evening and over the last few months that went around, I don't think, unless there might be one, that went around with a resume that said, I am perfectly qualified for this because I am a city planner, I'm a traffic engineer, I'm a wastewater specialist, I'm an environmentalist. You know, like nobody has that resume.
Yep.
And so, you know, what are you actually being elected on? Well, probably tenacity, probably your willingness to learn, you know, to listen, to learn, to grow, to be receptive, to be responsive, to answer your emails, to answer your phone calls. But nobody's going in there with a resume that says, I'm your guy, or I'm your lady, or I'm your anything, right? Like,
or I'm knowledgeable in so many different areas. Yeah.
But you will be by the time you're done.
Well, and that's thanks to the staff too, right? The staff that brings the reports to the council meetings and everything like that. Like you can't really make a decision by yourself. You need all these people to come forward and help you and bring you the reports, the results of things that are the issues that the council is voting on and talking about, right? So
yeah, so you do need some thick skin, sure, but you know, my wishes for anybody who's been elected, you know, keep your thick skin, be willing to listen, be that collaborative. Don't forget why you ran, but also find some new reasons why you're glad you're there. Learn. And it's an awesome experience, so I just love it. But I think we have some. Okay, folks, just in. Have you always wanted to say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you always
Breaking
wanted to say
news.
that?
That's
Breaking news.
Folks at home, if you are still tuned in, it's not over yet. If you were, take a look at your screen here, and I was practicing saying his name several times while we're in the show. Mauro Di Giovanni is no longer the councillor. The mayor-elect. In fact, James LeDuc. New numbers have come in, and they are significantly different.
Wow.
I believe he was down around 900, I thought, last time I saw him. Apologies to anybody who has a screenshot. James LeDuc is the incumbent, and he has successfully retained his seat, defeating Mauro Di Giovanni. I'm going to say that a few more times. But to the people. And Deputy Mayor Raj Sandhu is a newly elected deputy mayor. But again, if you haven't turned off your screen or your tablet for the evening and you're down in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, there are some new numbers here. Geraldine Duhaney successfully wins seat number 1, Ward 1 seat in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. And I think it was before it was Albonera that we had on there. Incumbent Jonathan Scott is successful in retaining a seat in Ward 2. Ben Verkuyk wins over Gary Lamb, the incumbent, in Ward 3. Joseph Giordano, Ward 4. I think that's new as well.
Small numbers.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Iftikhar Ahmed had originally won. And somebody tell me if I'm wrong, I apologize. Peter Ferragini is a turnaround because it was definitely Munawar Choudhary. So Peter Ferragini, the incumbent, retains a seat. We'll find out what happened there, but obviously some updated numbers coming in, folks. Nicholas Harper defeats Marc Comtois because I believe he was the incumbent successfully retaining his seat earlier in our reporting. And again, folks, we are delivering the message to you. Peter Dickey Jr., the incumbent, retains his seat. Yes, I think that was also the one that we spoke of earlier, the gentleman we spoke of before. So obviously some big changes. I'm only assuming massive sighs of relief. I'm also assuming some tears that are being shed or some serious disappointment down in Bradford. And, I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow or later how those numbers came in differently earlier.
Well, it's either, the online voting or an issue with the
depending on how they vote. They forgot a box. I'm not sure. I don't know what's happened, but I feel for those who for a moment were newly elected, and I'm relieved for those who fought hard to retain their seat. And I believe that we are pleased to be able to invite back to our screen. Am I correct, Ron? Okay, we're almost going to have an interview and give a newly elected mayor an opportunity to join us in studio here.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah. Okay, we'll fill some time, as they say.
Oh, fill time.
Yeah. So, are we acknowledging that? Okay, folks, stick around, if you will, for a second. We attempted to make contact with newly elected Mayor Doug Rawson, successful mayoral candidate in Penetang, and we just had some technical challenges earlier with some audio and video, but he is with us. I believe he's made it back to his office and got some better tech in front of him as well, and I see him smiling, so I don't know if that's just smiling because he won or smiling because he can hear us talking about him, but excellent Mayor-elect Doug Rawson. Congratulations, sir. Fantastic to have you with us in studio, or not in studio, but joining us here on Rogers. And congratulations to you. How are you feeling?
Very well, thank you. I'm smiling both because of the win and because there's lots to celebrate this evening. So thanks for connecting.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, what are you celebrating other than the obvious? I mean, there is a little bit of obvious stuff there, but tell us. I mean, you've got a mission. You must have run a campaign that had some ideas involved in what you wanted to bring as change to Penetang. What do you plan as you form your council? What do you hope to bring in terms of change to Penetang?
Thanks. Actually, my ideas of change is all about engagement. I began this campaign about engaging. I've knocked on 3,500 doors, and I wanted to hear what was important to our community and to our residents. And I think tonight the community won. They selected a council that's going to represent their needs and wants and views as we move forward. And I think, unlike a lot of communities where we've got challenges, but I look at them as opportunities. And we're going to work together with our council and deliver some results for the community.
So Mayor-elect, was engagement lacking? Is that your thought, that engagement was lacking in Penetang or in general?
I think to a degree, we've looked at engagement being Facebook and online media, and I love technology. But I've talked to a lot of people who don't feel like they're part of the conversation. They don't feel like they're part of what the needs and wants are of the community. I think we got to get back to engaging people no matter where they're at. I've learned that a lot of people don't even have access to the internet. This election, just like our previous 3 elections, have been done online on the telephone. And we looked at our turnout tonight was less than 30%. I don't know if that's good enough. I've had 35 people close the door on me because they want traditional paper ballots. And I think we got to listen to people, and we got to go, what do we need to do to help engage people and have them part of the conversation? So I do think that we all got to work harder to hear the people what they want. And we have some big topics in front of us, and we got to pause and really take the time that's required to hear the community, what their needs and wants are.
So, Mayor-elect, one of the things that comes to mind as you're talking there, and I don't think your story is one that you're alone in. I think that you will hear that across different jurisdictions, different municipalities from the candidates that we're running. And certainly change is coming, change is inevitable. The way we are going to embrace technology is going to come. But what I'm hearing from you is that we don't need to jump from one pendulum to the one side of the pendulum to the other. We need to meet people where they are, and there are still people who deserve to be engaged, deserve to vote, and deserve a paper ballot. And it's up to those who are administering it to make that possible.
100%. And don't get me wrong, I think the technology and the new ways is good and it helps a lot of people, but it's also a barrier for others. And we got to provide as many opportunities as we can to give people that ability to be part of the conversation. And, having one avenue over another doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way, but we got to do the best we can to help people be part of the conversation.
If you don't mind me asking you, Mayor-elect, it's not even day one yet, and you're making some commitments here, which are great. What can the people of Penetang count on you for in terms of ensuring that engagement actually happens? Some people will refer to an open door policy. Some people will look at doing town hall meetings or regular meetings that they are able to meet with their people. What are some thoughts that you're going to be able to bring to the people of Penetang?
Yeah, great. I've been hearing from residents, the town halls, they want to be part of the conversation. They want to have regular updates from our council about where we are, where we're going. Traditional mailed newsletters, emailed newsletters, more conversation as opposed to when the decision's made. I want to make our council open. If you show up to a council meeting, I want you to be part of the conversation. Right now, we don't really make that an open manner that people can be part of the conversation. So it's all those. We all talk about accountability and transparency, but we got to follow through with these words, and they actually have to mean something.
Yeah, well, you know what? Thanks very much for coming back to join us here tonight.
Absolutely.
It was awesome, and congratulations on your win. This sounds the people in Penetang really like hearing what you're saying, and they should be thankful.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. You've had a long day, no doubt, and probably a long campaign. I don't know if you lost your COVID-20, as they refer to it, by knocking 3,500 doors, but I'm sure you've got your work cut out for you starting probably tomorrow.
It's all good. We're looking forward to getting this team aligned and moving forward to serve the community.
Mayor-elect Douglas Rawson, congratulations, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Night.
Very well.
Take care.
Take care. And as you heard, again, decisive change there in Penetang. And, it's funny. Inside voices, I can hear a city clerk or a staffer cringing when they hear that they want to get at the council meetings, et cetera. But you know what? Hey, you got to give it a whirl, give it a try, and see how that's going to go. That'll be interesting to see. But folks, we do have one of the 2 sets of numbers that we definitely are looking forward to, and those are numbers from Aurelia and Don McIsaac. wins as mayor. Steve Clark did not run again for re-election, so Don McIsaac has successfully won the seat of mayor in Aurelia, defeating Mason Ainsworth, who obviously ran a similarly strong but not as strong campaign, but noteworthy campaign. And then, of course, John Edwards Maxwell came in third. Ward 1, we just skipped past that. We'll come back in a second to Ward 1 as council. But there we are, incumbent David Campbell. And I believe Aurelia has 2 councillors in each, no? So we'll get in there, okay. I am wrong. There are some communities that do have partner councillors. So we'll see that David Campbell won. I'm just reading the screen. I am not that smart. I'm just reading the calendar. I'm reading what's on the screen. But Don McIsaac won.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, great.
You know, and that was an interestingly contested race. Anybody who's read the paper or read the online version of the paper in the last few days has seen some interesting news coming out. There was obviously some concerns and some things that were investigated in Aurelia by one candidate over another. Some interesting things going on there. But again, no matter what happened, it was going to be a new mayor in Aurelia because Steve Clark has done his terms as mayor. And so we have... Go ahead.
No.
Yeah, we've got Don McIsaac. Penny, are you? Sorry, there you are. Any thoughts on what you're hearing about Aurelia?
Aurelia is the other side of the bay from us. It's a lovely place that I visit, and I think that the mayor has got a great community to try and lead his council with.
Absolutely, and you know, it's funny, if you look back in history, I think Aurelia was traditionally selected as a growth node, as an area that would have grown, you know, we may be going back several decades, but certainly more so than Barrie should have grown, and then all of a sudden you have a 400 series highway that you know that extends only this far, and Barrie gets the nod to grow. So Aurelia is it's a beautiful community. It is you know, again, a waterfront community as well. Significant development going on in Aurelia as well with. I don't want to say West Street, and I apologize, but there's some new development, new shopping, new retail areas there, new homes being built there, new seniors developments happening in there, retirement communities happening in Aurelia, but certainly a hotly contested mayoral race in Aurelia. The gentleman who came in second, Mason Ainsworth, has been on council, I believe, for 2 terms, if I'm not mistaken, and decided it was time to step up and see what happens. I think he had originally made a decision to look at running provincially or federally, and I can't remember. I think it might have been provincially that he was looking at running.
And that's really tough. Going from being, let's say you've been a councillor for many years and now you're running for mayor or deputy mayor, and if you don't get it, you're not on count, right? Yep. And that's a huge risk that you might take. But you know, some councillors, as we've seen, made it on top. But yeah, how do you justify running, and then if you lose, you're out of the whole thing?
Well, I can tell you it really depends on the individual. For example, I believe after 22 years of service, Barrie Ward deserves some relaxation. You heard him state that his wife originally did not encourage him to run. She thought he had done his service. And she, at the end of the day, gets her wish because she gets her husband back. But she also became his biggest supporter. Then you look at somebody else. We have some people in Barrie. You know, if Alex hadn't been successful, or if Mike McCann wasn't successful, are these people going to find a way to get back into public service and continue to, you know, to serve their communities? In Aurelia, you've got somebody who was obviously a fierce competitor in Mason Ainsworth. He's young. He's experienced now. I don't think he's done. You know, if you know him as a human being and you've seen him operate as a councillor, he's probably not done. So the question is, what's next for him? But we've got the numbers back on the screen here in Aurelia. Don McIsaac successfully defeats challenger Mason Ainsworth. And your eyes are not deceiving you, and they weren't deceiving me either. Ward 1 successfully has 2 candidates, the incumbent and a newcomer, Whitney Smith. Incumbent David Campbell and Whitney Smith are successful in winning the seats in Ward 1 of Aurelia. Aurelia. They do have two. They split, I believe they split the jobs, they split their portfolio in Aurelia, and sometimes it's split by personality. One likes the admin, one likes the public. Sometimes it's by the different committees that you get appointed to. We'll get back to that in a second here. My apologies, yapping. But Jay Fallis, the incumbent in Ward 3, is successful, and Sawerzik, Jeff Sawerzik, is a newcomer to Ward 3, successful candidate there. I'm going with Polish, but I'm not positive. Tim Lauer, successfully the incumbent in Ward 4, along with, wait for it, there it is, Janet Lynn Dumford wins as the second half. And then we will see what happened in Ward 2 right now in Aurelia, and that is Ralph Cipolla and Luke Leatherdale, incumbent and new councillors, splitting the duties in Ward 2 in Aurelia. So as you can tell, by the way, by tonight, you've got councillors at large, you've got ward councillors, and you've got dual councillors, and that can simply be larger
municipalities.
Or a larger ward, broken, with more population, but they've got two councillors, whereas we've broken up in Barrie, we've broken the city up into 10 different wards and districts with one each, right? So again, you got to look at what's the population split there or geographic split there, et cetera. But we are still waiting on the holdout for the results to come in for Oro-Medonte. Penny, back over
Maybe
to
Wednesday.
you, and you've now seen Aurelia. You can also, maybe you've had a few minutes to see what your area, Town of Blue Mountains, Collingwood, Town of Wasaga Beach, Clearview, those areas there. Have you had a moment to digest, and what are your thoughts going forward for the next 4 years? Because not only do they serve their local area, but they all come together at the county council because it's split services there. Do all of these areas share something in common, or are they different communities with different mandates?
They're different communities with different mandates, but they are also, it's also an interesting combination because each and every one of them has an element of uniqueness, but everyone has an element that involves tourism. So that is one of the biggest things that goes forward. I mean, Clearview has the agricultural, as does the Town of Blue Mountains. Collingwood's virtually built out, so we are more of the rural urban center, as they now say. And the beach is definitely their cottages, their permanent homes, and all of their tourism. So Collingwood is going to be, I think we have change in this area with Wasaga Beach, with Collingwood. Clearview's the stickler. They acclaimed their mayor. Town of Blue Mountains has a new mayor. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics as they go and start to not only work with their own councils, but work across borders with each other.
So Clearview has agricultural, Town of Wasaga Beach has a mix of beachfront tourism as well as retirement, as well as some new family growth. Collingwood, as you said, is built out, but their neighbor, Town of Blue Mountains, again has that mix with the ski, the part-time, full-timers, I think, as you mentioned it, et cetera. So there's a mix there. I want to give you a quick second for final thoughts, though, Penny, because we are going to wrap up here shortly. And folks, if you're at home and you're wondering what's happened in Oro-Medonte, we haven't forgotten them, but their numbers aren't ready to come in. You'll be able to check back on the screen here, and you'll see the numbers updating overnight. But Penny, final thoughts as we wrap out for tonight?
I think for my area of the Rogers viewing public, we've got some change happening.
Excellent.
It's blowing off the bay.
I don't think you're wrong. Madison, it's been a lot of fun in here with you.
Yes.
And thank you for the behind-the-scenes magic that you've done there. What are your final thoughts?
I mean, I hope that in the next 4 years we have a bigger voter turnout, because this matters. Municipal elections matter as much as provincial and as much as federal. And we have a lot of change in a lot of municipalities that we have seen, but yeah, come out and vote. That's what's important. And as we said, your vote matters. The vote matters.
Didn't we? We did see that, yeah. Ron, always fun.
Yeah, it's been great. When we look at what happened here tonight, the issues are growth and affordability, infrastructure, homelessness, you know, it all boils down to, and this is not just a GTA issue, this is our local communities. This is Aurelia, it's Midland, and that's what we learned here tonight. And it's just great to see so many wonderful people who have been reelected and lots of new faces to tackle some of these problems. They're going to be very, very difficult, and I wish them all the very, very best. And, you know, as a citizen taxpayer and, you know, I love this country just like everybody else. We'd like to see these problems go away. So
absolutely, and I do think,
a lot of hard work.
I got a couple words in earlier about my thoughts around the fact is that many of the challenges that we face at a municipal level are going to require the collaboration that was referred to by others and the coming together, but I do think that it's also going to require the assistance and collaboration of senior levels of government. Those are my two thoughts on it, and words that I've been using a lot in the last few weeks is if nothing changes, nothing changes. So on that note, I do believe you all were right. This is, and Penny said it as well, this is about, these have been elections of change, you know, save for a few like Lynn Dolan down in Innisfil, but we want to thank you very much for those of you who let us into your home, your living room, your bedroom, your tablet, your smartphone, wherever it was that you were watching us from. Thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of your evening. That is the municipal elections in Ontario for 2022. And we'll see you again. We wish you well, and thanks for joining us on Rogers TV.
I never even met Penny Skelton. I could not hear a word she said the whole way. You did a great job.
We did a great job.
A lot of fun. That's so hard to do.